intelligence does not need to be biological. It doesn't have to be made of carbon atoms, and it doesn't have to have blood and a heart and be breathing. Human beings in general will no longer be the most intelligent being on Earth. A lot of this is important to think about because you don't want to go into the thing that AI is just going to replace you immediately.
Right. AI can never beat us out in human connection.
Might be surprised on that. Yeah. It might be able to.
That's coming also. I heard some people talking about, they're excited about when they'll be able to replace their digital selves with an AI version of themselves.
And this all could go horribly wrong. Like we said, you tell the AI to do certain stuff, and then all of a sudden it just kills humanity, and then we're all wiped out. Every single day, people are day and night working on artificial intelligence. And right now we have an opportunity to have a conversation as a society about where is this going to go? Where do we want it to go? But yeah, bro, we've been looking into AI, me and you, for the past few months. It's really popped up on our radar. Neither of us are necessarily in like the computer science field, but we can see this artificial intelligence coming and really affecting a lot of what we do, a lot of what the people we know do, and the entire world. Like I was saying, I think this is going to have a bigger impact than a lot of other technological things that have arrived in our society, like cell phones, internet. I think artificial intelligence, because it can apply to so many different fields, and it's essentially just a intelligent superpower, it's going to impact so many different things. And right now, today, so many people are talking about AI. You got the biggest tech CEOs, Elon Musk, Sam Altman. People are talking about this. Some people are scared. Some people are excited. How are you generally feeling about artificial intelligence coming into society?
Well, it's however I feel about it, it's here. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's bigger than possibly the internet. It's very big. So it's coming quickly. And another thing, it's not just that it's here, it's the rate at which it's growing. So exponential growth.
Right.
And it's going to be shifting a lot of things like quite rapidly. So I
think the AI conversation is something that there needs to be a lot of urgency and people talking about this issue, because it is growing so fast, like you said, and it can have massive impacts on our society. And we'll get into all those things, whether it's education, jobs, military. Before we dive too deep into those things, I just want to lay like a good framework for what artificial intelligence even is, because it might be confusing to some people, and even me looking into it, like how does AI work? Like how is it able to, is it as intelligent as other people? Like what type of intelligence?
Like, is it actually intelligent? Like the AI stuff we have now, is it actually thinking?
Yeah.
And
like
that would be an interesting thing to touch on.
Yeah.
Especially just to understand like what is artificial intelligence?
Right. Like what does it mean to be intelligent? Like when you're using your computer, is it a form of intelligence?
Right.
And it absolutely is. It's just an artificial version of intelligence. It's not a biological form of intelligence. But if you really dive into it, computers and artificial technologies are able to be intelligent in the way that they can have a memory. Everybody knows that their computer has a memory, and their computer can store
RAM.
Exactly. Like
storage.
The best computers can store far more information than a human brain can. I was looking into it, and I think the average human can store about 100 terabytes of data.
Oh, really?
But like the best...
That's quite a bit still.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Yeah, but over their lifetime?
Yeah, it was just like a brief thing I read. I think it's just... Yeah, over their lifetime, that's the max capacity, but we'd have to double check on that.
You and me probably closer to 40.
For sure, yeah.
On the lower end,
for sure.
This is just slightly below average.
100%. This is the average person.
Yeah, average person 100. So we'd be lucky with 80 would be
at least divide that in half to get to where we are.
Yeah. After that concussion, also probably a little bit lower.
100%.
Concussion.
Every month, my storage just goes down by like a terabyte.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we all know that computers are capable of having memory. Their memory works a little bit different than ours does, where a computer's memories are based on saving things in very specific locations, whereas our memory is like what they call auto-associative. So if I bring something up and you associate that with something else, you're going to recall the memory. But you can't necessarily be like, okay, find this memory in this location. Like find that memory of way back when like we were on like in Bell's Corners, like running in the park. But now that I say the word running in the park in Bell's Corners, now you might have a memory.
Visual representations of being in Bell's Corners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like we have that memory. The computer's memory works a little bit different. Another aspect of the computer being intelligent would be its ability to process and compute things. So just like how human brains receive input, they can understand that input and then make a decision based on that input. A computer, you would provide inputs to it, whether you're clicking on your mouse, you're typing on your keyboard, or even like the most basic example would be like a pocket calculator, where you type 2 + 2 =, and it's able to take that input and spit out an output. And so I'm not a computer science. I can't explain in detail how exactly that's working, but we do know that a computer is capable of doing that. And one of the biggest things about intelligence and especially what separates humans from a lot of other animals is our ability to learn. And computers now are actually able to learn, and they learn in a similar way that human beings do. Like they've tried to design some computers similar to how like a neural network would work. And it actually works based on the principles of reinforcement learning.
Like these large language models, how they teach them through
I'm pretty sure the large language models are definitely working on this machine learning or reinforcement learning.
So if they get a bad answer, they'll punish the machine. If they get a good answer, they'll give them like points or something like that.
It's a form of reward.
Positive reinforcement a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's a form of reward. I don't know exactly what they're doing for the large language models and how like ChatGPT is getting rewarded, because like it's a weird thing to be
what
like,
would you reward
punishing
it with?
And rewarding the machine.
Yeah.
But a really basic example that I was reading about is it's a game called Brick Breaker. You know, the one where you have the little paddle at the bottom of the screen and there's a bunch of colored bricks at the top, and there's a ball that you shoot up, you hit the brick and then it bounces back.
Yeah.
And you're trying to control it and you're trying to get as many points as possible. So the company IBM, they were trying to develop a machine learning system, and one of their first experiments was on this Brick Breaker game. So they somehow programmed within the Brick Breaker to get rewarded when it gets points. One way or another, its goal was to get more points. And I don't know how they did that exactly, but the machine was set on getting more points. And at the beginning, it had no idea how to play. So you look at it and the little paddle's just vibrating around and it doesn't really know what to do. But eventually it shoots it up, it gets a point, and it starts to, over many progressions, realize that if you move the paddle in a certain way, you're likely to get more points. And it over a certain amount of time, with no human interference, just the machine learning based on realizing what gets points and what doesn't, it started to just like break all the high scores. And like it figured out that if it shoots the ball behind the bricks so that the ball is like bouncing up top, that was like the best strategy. So all in all, I just wanted to bring those things up because it can be kind of weird to think about machines as intelligent, because most of the time when we're thinking about intelligence, we're thinking about other human beings and what they're capable of doing and thinking about. But based on those things, computers can have a memory, they can compute and process things, they can also learn. And so what, if that's all true, which it is,
right, then they definitely begin to appear intelligent. So if it's winning that bricklayer game, setting records within a matter of days, then you can make the argument, well, it's a form of intelligence that it's able to figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing too. Like, is it actually figuring it out, or is it, if it's being programmed? So going back to like the original version of the computer where AI stems from. It's all programmed by humans.
Right.
So basically, a computer program software is you're just giving commands. So you could even think of it as a set of goals.
Right.
So if this, then you do this. But if this happens, then you do this.
Right.
And it starts very simple, but you expand on it, you increase the amount of lines of code, and it becomes more and more complex. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, you have social media apps, you have the Uber apps, you have all the applications we use today. It's all based off simples like bits and bytes and lines of code.
Right.
Now extend that out to AI today, and the things that it's doing, the Chat GPT, you give it a prompt like, give me a marketing example in the form Shakespearean form from the 18th century, and
Yeah.
it'll write it down exactly like Shakespeare would write it, and you like great marketing sales technique or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it's like, holy, how can it do that? How
So powerful.
humans can barely even do that. Like if you
Yeah.
gave a PhD level student who's studying, saying literature, Shakespeare, whatever it is, tell him or her to write out a prompt, to write out a text in Shakespearean form. It could take them days, months. You got to do the research. But now ChatGPT is doing it in 3 seconds. It's like, holy, that's super impressive.
Oh yeah.
But it's important to note, to touch on like where these answers come from, and
Right.
is it actually thinking of the answers? Well, for ChatGPT's case, it would be no. It's basically a matrix of billions or trillions of parameters of just text, and it's taking all these texts and it's connecting them together. So it's not actually thinking, it's not intelligent, but what it's
Yeah.
doing,
Well, it is. It
the
definitely
output.
is intelligent because it's able to take inputs and produce an output. So like
Right.
if let's say you were talking to somebody and asking it similar things to what you asked ChatGPT, and it was able to give you the answers that ChatGPT gives you, you'd be like, holy, this guy's really intelligent. He
Right.
knows this and he knows that. He knows how to speak French and
But
Spanish and all
that person would be thinking, going in their database, their mind,
Yeah.
thinking, like trying to draw conclusions and then presenting it. Whereas ChatGPT isn't thinking, it's just connecting all the text prompts you give it with the question mark, and it's going through the internet or the data set it's built on, and it's just connecting the text, and it's
Yeah.
giving the best answer based off the text prompts.
But you could say that like that's kind of what a human mind would be doing. It's doing some sort of processing. When I ask you a question about like whatever the question is, you're gonna have all sorts of things going on in your mind.
Right.
You're maybe gonna be reflecting on previous memories. You're gonna like do whatever processes your brain has to do to be able to spit out an answer.
Kind of like ChatGPT's process, but
Yeah.
in biological human form.
Exactly.
So when you say the word boat and water and these like two words together, automatically my brain's connecting and thinking what you're going to say next, or
Yeah.
what's the question, what's the answer you're looking for. It's
Yeah.
already doing that.
For sure. And
Automatic.
I don't know exactly what's going on the back end of ChatGPT, but as far as I know, it's more advanced than just some programmer giving it a list of parameters that it can't deviate from. I think ChatGPT is more on the side of what we were talking about, how that brick breaker game knows how to learn, because the original artificial intelligences, they were just operating purely on the parameters that were set in them. Like for example, the AI that first beat the best human chess player, the way it beat it was based on pre-programmed decisions and having a way higher memory capacity than the human player. So it can map out, well, what would happen if I move that piece there, and map it out like the next 1,000 decisions, because it has a higher memory and a better ability to compute. But that was based on just the parameters that humans had programmed in. Whereas the newer AI, a lot of them use more machine learning, where they can actually adjust themselves. So
Right.
rather than having a person go in and change the parameters, saying, actually, you know what? When the computer's playing chess and they move their pawn up a space, instead of doing that, we'll do this. That's not going on anymore for like the deep learning, machine learning AIs, where they actually are adjusting based on their reward system. So rather than having a human go in, the machine is updating itself, similar to how
Is it updating its own code? Or
yeah.
is it,
As far as I know, I think it's similar to how like a human being would learn, where let's say you want to learn a different language or a different sport, your brain is going to rewire itself. And like in neuroscience, they call it neuroplasticity, the ability for your brain to restructure itself. So it restructures itself based on the things that your brain sees as useful and more important to develop.
So say you want to learn kickboxing and you've played soccer in the past. Maybe you have no experience kickboxing, but since you have experience playing soccer, you can sort of use some of your knowledge within soccer to quickly learn much quicker some kickboxing things.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had zero parameters or
I would have a better idea of like how to move my leg in a certain direction. But in some ways, actually, someone starting from a blank slate can often be an easier person to coach, especially when it comes to sports like that, where someone has a previous history. Because in kickboxing, a lot of what you want to do is land with the shin instead of with your foot. Whereas in soccer, you want to land with your foot. But if you're kickboxing someone and you're hitting them with your foot, you might end up breaking your foot. So it's not always great to land with your foot. But because I would be
bad habits within the kickboxing context, the habits you built up in soccer.
And so I would need to rewire my brain and get to the point where now I know I'm kickboxing and I actually want to throw my kick a little bit different so that the shin lands instead of the foot. And that will come through repetition and practice and
rewiring
positive. Yeah.
The brain a little bit.
Even think about how like a dog learns new tricks. A lot of time what you need to do is give it a treat. And so at first, like you get a puppy and it has no idea how to sit. It doesn't know how to do any of those tricks. And so you gradually through rewards, it gets to the point where it thinks that when it sits, a reward is going to come. And so now when you say sit, it knows to do that. But initially it doesn't do that.
Right.
And so the AI systems, again, the back end is going to be, it's overwhelmingly complicated and confusing, and I can't explain that.
Even the top CEOs like Sam Altman, they talk about they don't really fully understand how it's developing the answers that it's developing sometimes.
Right.
Like it's that complicated where
there's too many parameters and too many things that it's constantly changing. Like I heard ChatGPT, there was some like obscure language that people were sending it messages in, and it wasn't programmed to know that language. But within like 24 hours, it just completely from top to bottom is now a master at that language. And it does that not because Sam Altman and his team are like, oh shit, boys, we got 24 hours to update this so that it knows that language.
Yeah.
It's the computer itself is searching its database. I don't know if it has access to the internet, but whatever it has access to.
Well, it would have to have access to the internet to learn the language.
Yeah, I think it's like limited to like 2021 or something. But anyway, it's like it has a certain database that it can look through, and in no time now it's learned a new language, and that would take me and you a really, really long time.
And it didn't have to be prompted, or you didn't have a computer programmer telling it to do that. It knew that it had to do that on its own.
Yeah.
To achieve the goal that it was set out to do.
Right. And you mentioned the word goal, which is another thing that I think might be not intuitive for people when they're thinking about artificial intelligence of like well, why is that its goal, and what is can AI actually have goals?
That's a good point. Why would an artificial intelligence have goals?
Yeah, and so I think hopefully we've established well enough that yes, artificial intelligence can actually be intelligent, and it can be intelligent in a similar way to a human brain can be intelligent. So intelligence does not need to be biological. It doesn't have to be made of carbon atoms, and it doesn't have to have blood and a heart and be breathing. It could be made of a circuit board and metals, right? And it's not necessarily the material the intelligent thing is made out of, but it's the process that's going on within it. So a computer has a process that could be similar to the way our brain is structured, but you look at it and it's just a chunk of metal.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter about the matter. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter what the material is made of, as long as that material is able to to send signals, whether it's electrons or whatever, it can have that process and operate as an intelligent being.
Right. Because it was used, I was telling me the other day that the one form of definition for intelligence is essentially achieving goals. Like if you can achieve the goals that you're set out to do, or if it's a machine or a microbe or an ant or gorilla, whatever it is, achieving the goals that it's set out to do, that's a form of intelligence. So same with us humans.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the achieving the goals, intelligence would definitely improve someone's ability to achieve goals, but it wouldn't be, you'd be limited by other things, especially depending on what the goal is. Like, for example, if someone wanted to lift something heavy, the smarter person might not actually be able to do it. But I think goals definitely have
there's like a sliver of goals within the intelligence definition.
I think if you say everything else is equal, the intelligence will lead to being able to achieve the goals in a better way. But I think goals play a part in the overall definition of what we're talking about intelligence is. But I think even besides the goals, it has to do with being able to take signals and inputs from reality, whether it's the vision, the audio, whatever it is, you're taking some sort of input. You're developing an understanding of what this reality is, and then you're responding back to it. So intelligent humans are great at that. And like what we're doing right now in conversation is I'm saying things, you're visually picking up on it and audio wise, and you're coming up with your understanding of what I just said, and you're replying back right away. So
and in real time, we're filtering out, because there's all this information coming out around us, but in real time, we're filtering it out. So I'm focusing on what you're saying instead of focusing on the bright light or focusing on the tripod, or if there's a little noise in the hallway or from the fridge, where you might, like, the information is coming into our minds, but we're able to filter it out in real time so that we can have a conversation. We're understanding what each other is saying and develop a response based on what you say.
Right. And that would be part of the, like, after you've got the inputs, your brain is getting an understanding and trying to figure out, well, out of all these inputs, what's actually important here.
So that's another form of intelligence, I think. Yeah,
because if you just throw a bunch of data at a computer, it might struggle with figuring out, well, which ones have higher value, especially because it doesn't operate on the same value system that you and I do. For us,
which ones are traffic lights and which ones aren't.
Yeah.
It seems simple, but to a computer,
it doesn't. It might not have a value structure unless that has been pre-programmed into it, or unless it gets so advanced that it's as intelligent or more intelligent than a human brain. So it has its own value structure, and it starts to decide, well, for the sake of my goal, I'm actually going to focus on this and not spend computer processing energy on other stuff.
You think since computers have goals and they're programmed to accomplish their goals, you think they're going to develop a value system based off the goals they have? Like they'll value some things more than other things. Just like us humans, we might value family or money or whatever. So they'll develop value systems based off the goals that they're prompted with.
I think so. Like whether it's the AI has been programmed to have a certain set of values, or it gets to the point where it's so good at machine learning and it's so advanced that it ends up just rewiring itself and developing its own value structure. But an example of this could be like the Tesla self-driving car. So when you type in a destination, it has the goal of getting you to that destination. And so it's going to do that through running the engine, turning the steering wheel and turning the tires, using its blinker when it has to. And its goal is to get there while also following the rules of the road and not getting into car accident. And so you could even program a value system, kind of like ethics in a way, into that self-driving Tesla car to solve one of the most like classic ethical problems, which is if you have a train going down on the tracks and it's about to hit 5 people, but you could change it so that it switches to a different track and it just
Right.
kills one person. What do? Do you change the course and make it kill one person instead of 5? So the people implementing Tesla self-driving cars, they're going to have to design this back end. So if the Tesla's about to hit 5 people,
Right.
but the only way that it could save those 5 people is turning to the right and killing one person.
And what if it's a child versus 5 older people?
Yeah,
Or
so
you start getting these very complicated moral dilemmas,
yeah,
and boom, we're faced with it right now. Because if you're going to build the technology, self-driving vehicles, and have them prepared
yeah,
for as soon as possible, that's a good point. You have to think about the ethical, like how you program it ethically.
yeah. So
It's right away. You got to
yeah,
like,
that's
you
why
need an answer. There's no like philosophizing about it, or maybe we need to have take some time and do theory and research. It's if you want the self-driving cars as soon as possible, which obviously they do.
yeah.
They need answers.
Well, that's the
and
thing.
it's
People are
tricky.
working day and night trying to advance all these AI systems, but there's a lot of like ethics and philosophy that we need to consider
Yeah.
before we start implementing these things.
Like
'cause-
they're diving face first into all this like ethics and morality, like complicated human existential level issues.
yeah,
Just like, what is consciousness? What is intelligence? What is like, do we value saving this person as opposed to this person?
right. And
Or
yeah, because eventually you could probably say, oh, the self-driving car, it has goals and it has a value structure. It sounds weird to say because a lot of time when we have goals and we have a value structure, there's usually like a why behind it. Like, for example, like if you really wanted to study medicine and become a doctor, I would say, yo, why are you studying so hard and you're spending 8 hours a day? You would say, well, my goal is to become a doctor. But when you're saying that, a lot of time there's like a why. Well, why do I want to become why is that my goal?
Right.
And your goal is because,
why are you
well,
willing to sacrifice 8 hours a day every day?
yeah,
do
you're
that?
like, I want to make money. My parents really encouraged me to be a doctor. Like all sorts of things would come into the why back end. Right now, there are AI systems that might be learning medicine, like ChatGPT. There was at some point where it might not have known very much about that. And now whether it has like a true understanding is hard to say. It doesn't understand the meaning of the stuff that it's spitting out or the purpose of the medicine.
Well, it wouldn't understand at all because it's not sentient. It's not thinking, right? For
Yeah.
chat GPT's case in particular.
It would. It's a weird
Don't
thing
you
because it would understand that like, okay, this certain medicine is beneficial in this situation, and it understands the surface level stuff, but it might not totally understand, well, why is it helpful to give that person antibiotics when they have a bacterial infection? Because it really it makes them feel better and it allows them to live their life pain free and things like that. And I'm sure even if you ask the ChatGPT, well, why is medicine beneficial? It would spit out a similar answer, being like, well, it's because we want humans to be healthy and we don't want people to be sick.
Right.
But it is hard to think that the thing has that deeper understanding of why it's actually meaningful and beneficial and why there's a purpose to a lot of the things that it's spitting out. Like it knows so many things. It has a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
But does it have like the wisdom, let's say?
Yeah. Because it might understand that humans are important, but why would humans be important to it?
Yeah.
Like it's trained and programmed to protect humans and deliver safety and keep humans safe and act in our best interests.
right.
But if it ever got to a point, it's like, why would it care about humans?
yeah. It would.
Like, why would it have that feeling? Unless it's obviously going to be programmed into it.
Right.
But if it could have its own sentient thoughts and at that level, once it's that level of intelligence, like a general form of intelligence,
yeah, because
why would it?
you could even program it to be like, okay, your job is to keep humans safe and to keep all humans happy, but there might be unintended consequences that come out of that. Or when the AI gets intelligent enough, it might just start deviate from the things that have been pre-programmed in it. And a good example of this is you and I have our DNA, which is in a way that's like our coded programming. So we have different DNA than different animals, and the DNA kind of dictates where where that life is gonna go and what decisions it's gonna make. But because humans are more intelligent than other animals, we have the ability to kind of deviate from our initial programming. And a good example of that is, well, through evolution, DNA was made, and humans kind of adapted through natural selection to the things that were going to lead to our survival and lead to our replication. So if evolution has been pushing us and all other animals to survival and replication, but you look at humans now and we've implemented things like birth control that just directly go against replication. In a way, we're going against our programming and our DNA because we're intelligent enough and we're capable of having goals outside of what our DNA was guided towards. So we might say, well, I don't want to live a life where I have kids and I'm going to use birth control because my goal isn't to replicate. My goal is to do whatever else.
Make money or travel the world.
Yeah, exactly. So, but technically on our back end, the original programming was leading us to have emotions and make certain decisions that would lead to survival and procreation.
It's procreation, yeah. That's built into our biology. That's to procreate.
Literally, evolution is just guiding us to do the things and
millions of years of evolution also.
But the problem is once you have something smart enough, it can kind of override its DNA and go off and do something else. So what happens when you build an AI that you program the back end to do something?
Oh,
but now
it's a good point.
If you want the AI to be smart enough, you kind of have to start loosening its boundaries, because if it's limited in its information, then it can't possibly learn everything. Like
you'd have to build it in a sandbox almost if you actually want some level of control over something.
Yeah.
That's not just going to be smarter than you, but potentially 10 times smarter, 100 times smarter. Yeah. If it starts boosting its code, maybe 1,000 times smarter. Once it's 1,000 times smarter, why can't it make itself 1,000,000 times smarter? If it's 1,000 times smarter than us.
Yeah. And it's like an exponential curve where as it gets smarter, its ability to improve itself gets better. Yeah. And so that just goes up and up and up. But yeah, it's going to be wild, like how smart it eventually gets. But if you want it to be, the artificial intelligence to be as smart as it possibly could, it needs to get to the point where it has an understanding of how human beings relate to the artificial intelligence. Like what is the relationship between the processes going on in their AI and the human beings that built the AI? What is the relationship between the artificial intelligence and the universe or the world? And so once it understands how it relates to human beings and the world, it's going to have a better grasp on what's actually really going on in this universe. And when it gets to that stage, it might think that the goals that the humans programmed into it are not that important and not that valuable.
Right. Or they're not that well built out or well thought out. I could make better goals.
You could easily make better goals and have better strategies. Like imagine if somehow the way that the human brain came into place was chimpanzees built it, and eventually we start to surpass the chimpanzees in intelligence, and the chimpanzees are still like, we need to optimize for bananas and like doing whatever.
Yeah.
But eventually,
because chimpanzees are like definitely intelligent. It's a form of intelligence. But when you compare chimpanzees to humans, and it's not a huge percentage difference, like our DNA to some of these animals, it's maybe like a few percentages.
For sure.
But you look at the difference in intelligence, what we can do compared to monkeys.
Massive.
We're sending rockets to Mars, or we're curing diseases. We have all these technologies and invisible Wi-Fi, sending images through like invisible spectrums.
So much
like
more.
Compared to monkeys, that's pretty intense. So imagine if a monkey started off with humans they're trying to control, like we're going to program humans, we're going to control the humans. Like monkeys could never control humans.
No.
And we're not that much smarter, arguably. than
Yeah.
monkeys.
Yeah, you could get to the
Like-
scenario where like AI treats us like a pet because like you're talking about control, a lot of that has to do with just who's smarter, and then you can control the things. Like we're able to control all the animals, elephants, tigers, and zoos and all of this stuff. It's not because we're stronger or anything.
Do you
It's
think it
'cause-
would treat us more like a pet or like the parents that built it? Because you could make the argument that since we're creating AI,
Yeah.
in a way, it's all of human intelligence into a product.
Right.
So artificial intelligence, you could even make the case that in a way it's human intelligence since it's built off all our knowledge off the internet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if we created it, you could say, well, we're the parents of AI. And in
Yeah.
a way, we're creating new species. So like
Yeah.
we're training it kind of like you train a child or a pet. But
Right.
then once it grows, it develops, it goes through, say, like its child years and adolescence, and it becomes 100 times smarter, 1,000 times smarter. Then
Yeah.
it's like at its adult phase, you could say, for AI. Do you think it would still think of us as the parents who created it, or view us as like the pet a little bit, kind of like we view ants?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's cool what ants do. They're like, look what the ants are doing. Holy, they built
Yeah.
colonies. That's pretty impressive. But compared to what we can do,
Yeah.
it's like it's.
I don't think it might view us. It might have a memory of, oh, these humans created me, and understand that in relation to us, it's so much smarter. But I don't know if it'll necessarily have like an emotional meaning towards, oh, this is
Right.
my pet that I really like, or this
It's
is
more
my,
just it
my parent.
acknowledges that we created it, but why would it feel?
It might just simply have a memory knowing like, oh, I know where this all started. The most powerful artificial intelligence started by human beings. And some people think that's even like the natural course of evolution, where you eventually through natural selection get a species that's evolved enough to be intelligent enough that it can now build even more intelligent things. And it really bypasses the slow speed of evolution, because it takes like thousands, millions of years for human beings to adopt a new feature through evolution.
Right.
But now we can just straight up build something that the sky's the limit. Like the
Should we? Just because we can.
yeah, just because we can, should we?
Yeah.
And like when we're talking about us being pets or the parents, that makes me I want to do like a little segment called like who does it better, AIs or us, because I think a big reason why this conversation about AI, like and just in society, people talking about AI is so important, because we're gradually building things that are more intelligent than us at almost everything. It's going to get to the point where the AI can do all the tasks we can do,
Right.
but just to a higher degree. So let's talk about like where we currently are at. And I want to run through this list and get your thoughts on like who does each one of these things better, the human or the AI. So
Wait, like right now, or will
right now, and we
right
only know
now.
it's going to get better. So let's look about what about writing books? Who do you think does that better, humans or AI?
the best books humans, but overall, you could definitely overall AI.
It's
The average AI probably
It seems like the AI is better in
like
terms
not
of
than
speed.
Stephen King. Stephen
Oh,
King
bro,
books,
Stephen
AI.
King, he's killer.
But that's
Yeah, yeah.
but that's an interesting point. Like, yeah, I can write amazing books very fast.
Yeah.
But will it ever have New York bestseller, or the next Harry Potter, the next Hogwarts, the next Hollywood blockbuster level?
Yeah.
With like intricate characters and the development and the human touch and the complexities.
I think it definitely could do that, especially in the beginning.
think so?
I don't
Yeah.
think the humans that run the international bestseller list are going to want to give it to the AI. But you could have a human that like, he's like, yeah, for sure, man, I wrote that book, but it was just the AI.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he presents it, and then people might be like, oh, that was an incredible book. But I think, and people who've used ChatGPT could probably relate to this, where you can ask it to write whatever it wants. You can ask it to change its tone.
You could
write
tweak it.
and just through the process of the AI, you end up coming out with like an essay or a book that's pretty solid. Like,
So the future of novel writing, you think they'll still be writing novels, but they'll have like AI assistants? kind of.
You might have an AI assistant, like if you can't think of like, I want to reword that sentence, but I just don't know how. You ask the AI, like, take this sentence, reword it in a different way, and give me 10 options, and then you pick one. I think right now the best writers are still humans, but in terms of speed, AI, no question, is better.
And that's only the best
That's
writers.
the best.
How many are there of the best? Maybe
For sure. If you and
hundreds
I
or thousands. It's
like picture if you and me are like, yo, okay, we're gonna set out to write a book.
Oh,
and
AI
we're competing
would
against AI.
destroy us.
Yeah, I've never written a book. AI would kill us.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I think AI is
Could
better.
barely even read a whole book, let alone
Yeah.
write a novel.
And AI would do it in like 10 seconds. It wrote the whole book.
Well, that's an interesting point too, because a lot of novelists and writers, it might take them years or 10 years to write out a book.
Yeah, because
Now
they
with
need
these
to
tools.
they need to collect the life experiences and collect all the data and
Right.
get the ideas and go into their creative zones. Whereas AI just scans its database.
Would you need to collect life experiences, or could you just prompt it, like write it as if I've was an ex-alcoholic living in Hollywood Boulevard
Yeah.
for
100%.
just prompt it as if you had that experience.
That's what I mean. Like humans have to do all that. The AI could just search the web and spit out something that's super creative, and it sounds like the person who wrote it was really experienced, but they weren't. So book writing, it's the average person's. There might be out of luck. If someone who's really talented at writing, they might still beat the AI for now. What about art? You've seen a lot of the AI art.
That's an interesting one.
What do you think?
I think so. Artists, like overall, definitely the human touch, I personally prefer.
Yeah.
But do you see some of the prompts, some of the like you heard of Mid Journey?
No.
So Mid Journey, I'm pretty sure it's picture and 3D animations. So they entered some of the artwork made from Mid Journey into some legit human art competitions, like out in Europe, and it's actually won like this one competition. It won it without people knowing that it was AI produced art. So it's winning competitions, and it's developing art that's obviously, if it's winning competitions, it must be developing some sort of emotion. You know, because the whole point of art is to make people feel. So if AI has art that can make people feel already, that's happening today.
Yeah.
So I would say the art AI.
Yeah, the art AI, especially if you don't know if that was the AI. Like
Unfortunately, though.
Because like you might like the human touch, but the AI, even like a physical object with 3D printers, it could spit out something that like you and I walk into the art gallery and we're like, whoa, that whoever made that, whichever person made that is like, they're so talented.
Right, because you need to go on Blender. It would take you 8 hours to do like a perfect whatever cube and get the shading and the lighting.
Or even like with the paintbrush, like if you have a 3D printer that can just craft and mold something that it looks like it was like the textures were all done up properly. And so you and I go in and we're like, whoa, the human touch on that is incredible.
Yeah, you can get the human touch just through the
But it was just the AI, and I don't think the AI will be necessarily putting emotions into it. It could have an emotional system, just because there's nothing like in the laws of physics saying you can't build a machine that has the same system that we do.
Right.
But it might be purely logical of its goal is to create art that humans like, and it has a very good understanding of human psychology and what humans appreciate when it comes to art. So you give it that framework and you say go, and it just creates something that we end up looking at like, wow, this really like sparks my emotion of like, or that makes me remember that one time where I was like on the beach in Europe or whatever it is, right? And so we might feel emotional looking at it, but the AI is not feeling anything. It just knows what we like. And
a lot of what it's trained on, it's human art from the past.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's trained on all human art. So in a way, it's just kind of copying and taking all human forms of art.
Right.
So when you see AI art, it's not like AI is producing it from 0 to 1.
Right.
It just based off the prompt you give it, giving the best representation of what it thinks it would be based off all the other previous works of art that real artists have developed.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily being like in the purest sense creative necessarily, because it's just taking previous stuff and blending it together.
It is kind of creative though in a way.
It is because it could spit something out that is new and we've never seen before.
Right. Like Ollie Lewis in a cartoon form on Mars with a big logo behind them. Boom,
Yeah.
you give it that prompt and it does it perfectly. And it's like, holy,
Especially
it's kind of creative.
especially if you're not the one saying, "Hey, spit this out of me on Mars" and all this stuff. If you're just like, do your best and be creative,
make
and
it look good for
and it just spits something out. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not bad.
yeah.
But that's a scary thing because a lot of the time when I was thinking about AI like years ago, I thought art would be something that was going to be the most protected field. Like I thought that creative fields and art would be like, oh no, computers won't be able to take that field, but they're coming for even the artists.
Yeah. Well, it's coming for the artists, but also it's going to be helping a bunch of the artists. So
Yeah.
artists that use the AI tools,
Graphic
some of
design.
these tools, they're able to do things in a matter of minutes or seconds that would take them hours or days.
Right.
Like the 3D artwork or changing a human character into a 3D animated character.
Right,
They're able
yeah.
to do that in real time. So it also expands the limits of what artists can do.
Yeah.
Like especially in the cinema space, in videos,
for sure, yeah.
like in but the only thing, it's like graphic designers or people doing, logo design.
yeah.
Like if you have AI, it's able to do that right away.
yeah.
Those are the careers I'd be most concerned about in the art space. Is the stuff like 3D what is it? 3D artists would be called?
3D artists, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Like graphic design type of thing. But yeah, I
Graphic
agree with you on
design.
like those might be the type of fields you want to be worried about. Like things that can be they're like the instructions for your job are very like just
Mathematical.
like,
Anything that
okay, you do this, then you do this.
There's
then you do
math
this.
involved. AI can do it
Yeah.
like
so,
that.
And I think the initial stages are going to be kind of like how you're saying, where an artist will be able to use these tools to actually allow themselves to produce more
Right.
because they save time on the nitty gritty details.
Like a 3D artist can use an AI tool and develop where it would take him a day to build one world.
Yeah.
He can build 20 worlds in a day just using like the AI tools potentially.
Yeah, the amount of productivity you could have will be way, way higher using AI tools. But I think a concerning thing on that front is that some teams that might have had 10 graphic designers because they need to spit out a certain number of designs per month, now that each individual designer is able to do maybe, let's say, 5 times more than it used to be because it's using AI tools, does the team shrink? And now you have a team of 2 people instead of 10. And so there's less and less jobs for humans, not because the AI is completely taking the job, but because the AI is taking out so many tasks that are
Right.
within that job.
And
that
the
now,
humans using the AI are so much more productive,
yeah,
like 200 or 20 times, 200 times. So
you don't need
I
10
agree.
people.
Yeah, I think companies that would have, say, 10 graphic designers could potentially go down to, say, whatever that number may be, but they'll
yeah.
definitely be able to go down
The better
a
the AI
significant
gets,
number.
the more they can go down.
Right.
Until the point where it might be one CEO, executive person just making all the decisions.
Like a creative director.
and that's his whole team is AIs because the AI
Yeah.
could do all of it. And so
Like
you
an
say,
AI graphic designer, an AI 3D person, an AI
like
video editor,
like they
sound design, AI sound designer.
yeah, you just need
like-
one guy to make a couple like tweaks and have like the creative input onto it. And obviously it depends on your team. Maybe you
You'd
want
still
someone to
need
help you out,
experts. So say you had an AI like sound designer, or it improved the quality of audio, or made the
you might not need
score for a video.
The expert might be the AI though, where you simply just say, AI, improve the audio, make our voices a little bit deeper, make our voices, take out the like the lisp or the whatever, the pop on the P, and it'll just clean up the entire 2-hour footage. And
There
boom.
could be some mistakes here and there. What with
But-
the tools today?
For sure, yeah.
So
But it only gets better.
right now I'd say you'd need someone overseeing what AI does.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. Eventually, so say maybe 5-10 years, where
It'll just-
you wouldn't need. Why would you need someone overseeing it if it's
yeah.
potentially able to oversee itself, or you train it on the mistakes that's potentially could make,
Right.
and so you don't need to even, before it outputs something or publishes it on YouTube or the web, whatever.
You just need a review.
Yeah, you just need a review.
So you need a reviewer, but not necessarily the one like doing the editing and the processing.
But say there was a mistake, you would need someone that knows what they're doing and the sound design.
That's true.
Like you'd probably need a sound engineer.
You need a sound engineer, but
Like-
they might build those systems so easy that you don't need the person to be as technically good at making the changes. It might be
Right.
like simply type in, edit that so that it does this instead of that, or like edit that so that it's a smooth transition.
And if they're
on the
doing
outro.
so little, they could potentially, whereas they would have a sound engineer typically with one team.
Yeah.
Now that sound engineer can be working remote with 20 other teams on call with like 20 different companies.
Yeah.
Just because there's so little work for each company, you're just reviewing, oh, AI made a mistake here. I got to like change this EQ. I got to compress this better.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's like
you're,
it's going to get so good. I think that even it'll get to the point where ChatGPT, I feel like a next stage of that, for example, is where you are speaking to it and it can assess your tone of voice and start to understand, like maybe you have a customized ChatGPT for you and one for me. And so my ChatGPT understands when I seem to be a little bit annoyed or frustrated or what makes me happy. And so it's going to be able to customize its responses based on a specific understanding of the individual. And let's say that type of technology gets implemented into video or audio editing. I will just say to it, hey, like actually I wanted you to smooth out the ending of that a little bit, bump the volume at that part. And might just be me actually talking to it as if you're the executive and you're talking to your employee that does the audio editing. Like,
yeah.
'cause the executive might be like, hey, could you try like, just tweak it a little bit so that it sounds a bit better like this. It might
Right.
be you take out the person and you're just talking to the AI and you say,
like raise the volume at 33 seconds, just a little touch.
yeah.
Like,
So
ease into it. Don't go,
yeah, whatever you want it to do,
and it can do that.
it could do that. And I don't see why it couldn't do that. It's already getting to that point where,
Well, that's the future of computer programming. Where
yeah,
back in the day, or like last year, you need to understand computer code and languages, say Python, C++, Java, if you want to write a program.
yeah,
But now all you need to know is English
right.
or languages, and you just give it prompts and it writes the code for you. So
Yeah.
we're basically, in a way, like the English language is becoming the next form of computer programming language. Where
right.
you're able to, if you know how to speak, or not just English, but any language,
Yeah.
natural language, you're basically able to act as a computer programmer
Right.
for basically anything.
Because the computers are so good at learning other languages and translating that even if you didn't know English, you could say to it, you could speak to it in French and it would just quickly convert that to English and then convert that to computer code language. Like, I think, like you said, it doesn't matter the language, but we're gradually destroying our own job security. Like a lot of people at their workplace, they're thinking about like, what is it about my skills and my values at work that keep my job security and make it so that I can't be disposable? And a lot of people have that in mind of like, oh, I'm particularly good at this and this is what I provide to my company. As human beings are building artificial intelligence, you're slowly just diminishing the uniqueness of humans' values, right? Like, so people might be good at certain things like audio editing, or they're really good at
copywriting,
statistics,
making like
accounting,
social media
statistics,
posts, statistics,
whatever it is, and gradually we're making it so that AI is actually better than us at all those things. And I'm concerned about how that's going to affect our like psychology.
Yeah. Right now, what would you say AI is better than us at now? Like,
so yeah, let's keep going on that list, because like we kind of said that art, it kind of is better. Book writing, it's kind of better. And the next thing I had here is memorization. It's 100% better at that.
Oh, without a doubt.
Chess, it's better at chess.
Yeah, even Go, like the Chinese version, which is much more complex.
The game Jeopardy, it just destroys us.
Oh, for sure.
Visual recognition, like recognizing what images are, like
not yet, but eventually.
Not yet, maybe, but it's getting so good at
trained like wild on that stuff.
Yeah, it's getting very good at that. And you were telling me the other day about a lot of time when you're on a website and you have to pick all the traffic lights or whatever it is.
Yeah.
As you're picking the traffic lights, you're saying that like,
Yeah, I never knew that before. So, like all those things when you go into a website to prove that you're human.
yeah,
So, like, choose the traffic lights or pick out all the crosswalks or pick out the cars, or even the one, where you have to input, like, you'll have letters and numbers sort of very
yeah.
scratched off, like red lines, barely visible. So, you write the letters. So, all that prompts to verify you're human. Google's been doing that for years. And I heard apparently part of the reason they're doing that is we're training the AI. So they're
Right.
using all that data. So it's not for nothing. Like when you think about it, why would they be asking us, like, is this a stop sign? Is this a crosswalk all the time?
Yeah.
Why would they ask us that?
I feel like
But it's valuable information for AIs
yeah,
to know the difference between things. So Google's been training using all that data. And this is what I don't know this 100% sure, but
Yeah.
it does make sense.
I don't see why
to
they
train their
wouldn't.
AI.
I don't
And
see why they
wouldn't-
wouldn't
Yeah.
use that data for something that they're working on. I think it probably does both purposes where there might be hackers or computer
Like spam bots or whatever.
that actually do get stopped by that and it doesn't allow them into the website.
Mm-hmm.
But the person who built that website and built that test for the bots, they might as well use that data. And
Yeah,
so
that's valuable data.
now the AI systems when it comes to visual recognition are really
think
good
about
at
it.
pinpointing traffic lights.
10
and-
years or however long we've been doing that.
Yeah.
All people over the world that using Google. So billions of people or a
Yeah.
billion people, however many people using it.
And so
That's a lot of data.
I'd say it's like as good or like it's toss up on that one. Visual recognition, who's better.
Right.
I think I think like you
For
said, humans
us-
probably have the edge still a little bit.
Yeah, because we had millions of years of evolution to figure out
Yeah,
the importance of like memorizing faces.
for
and,
sure.
Like little things like what to remember.
And that's the thing. Humans, we are very good at the things that led to us surviving and replicating more. But there's certain forms of intelligence that we're pretty bad in comparison to the AI at. Like when it comes to arithmetic, like doing math in our heads, a computer system can do that way, way, way better than us. So there's certain things like visual recognition that was really important for human beings over time to be great at that. Audio recognition. I mean, things like Siri and Google Home and Alexa, like they're really good at that. They know what you're saying.
That's the technology. Like that's what it's doing.
So that might be a toss up in terms of audio recognition. Who's better, humans or AI?
I would say for now, humans.
For now, humans. It depends on the human. That's a lot of these things.
Yeah,
Because like
that's true.
some people, they hear a subtle accent and they're like, I can't understand a word they're saying. But like the AI might pick it up.
And that's
So-
another thing. It's a lot of these things that we're not necessarily sure whether AI or humans are better at than one another. A lot of these things will say, for now, humans, but eventually, it's almost,
Yeah.
it seems like AI will always be better at a lot of things
Right.
down the road, and we even acknowledge that
And I
the
guess
way it's heading.
yeah, AI will, I think, eventually be better than us at almost everything, which is crazy. But I think at this point, it's like thinking about, is AI better than the best person at a lot of these things? At chess and Jeopardy, absolutely. At art, maybe not. At book writing, maybe not. Vision and speech recognition, maybe not. What about driving? I think it's better than
It's a lot of people.
a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's better than the average person for sure. The best drivers, maybe not, but
Not
it's
the best, not the formula drivers for sure.
for sure. At least the AI. I don't know if there's been like self-driving Formula One cars.
That'd be
'cause
interesting.
It's like there's self-driving Teslas, and those are better than the average driver. But
I've never seen the self-driving Teslas like fully self-driving though. Like going
Right.
through a neighborhood out on the highway back here to Toronto to Ottawa. Usually
they do like a
they have
short
like a
route.
course or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or like,
I haven't
do
seen.
they have those yet? Where it's like it can like, oh, go pick up a pizza and then drive to Toronto and then drive me back.
I
you know?
think they do. I haven't like been in one, but I'm pretty sure they do. We'd have to call Elon, ask him if
Yeah.
where he's at with that.
Hit him up on the DM.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got him speed dial. Translating, 100% it's better.
Oh, for sure.
Investing,
They just released you see those glasses? I think it's
Apple?
Facebook they're Facebook glasses.
Oh, really?
So
Mark
Facebook
Zuckerberg.
released these glasses where you're able to it inputs like the language someone's talking to you in Chinese
Yeah.
and you hear like automatic direct translation
Oh, it's like glasses
into English.
like, with audio input.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it's audio or if it's visual. Yeah, it might be visual. Like you're able to read what they're saying, but it's direct translation. That's actually kind of interesting. Like that tech,
Amazing.
I find it's amazing.
Because that is something that sucks in humanity, that like if you and I travel to Asia or a country that we don't, or like whatever, we travel to a place where we don't speak the language,
like South America.
We can't connect to those people as well. But if AI through glasses or another form allows us to just instantly translate, then that allows us to connect with more people. And that could be an amazing thing. Investing, what do you think about that? Who's better at investing?
Well, they had, I think it was ChatGPT, like the latest version of ChatGPT go against, I think it was the top 10 financial firms in the US for investing. And it beat them all out by a certain percentage over, it was like the S&P 500 or something.
Right.
And that's today's iteration.
Yeah, that's crazy. Where like,
you can make the argument, a lot of these financial, like with the economy and these top financial teams or whatever, they made bad decisions. Like if they're losing money. Yeah,
because like
if ChatGPT is beating them,
AI is like could be your ideal investor where they're not influenced by their emotions too much. They're just purely stats. And even the most like analytical, logical investor, every now and then they're gonna get like frustrated, or they're gonna be like fuck it, I'm gonna invest in that.
And there's only so much data you could know. So say you're an investor on Wall Street, you could have those, those 3 monitors and you have all the data, the graphs in real time constantly. But you compare that to an AI that might have 1,000 like data sets or graphs, and it's like by the second, and it doesn't have to read it either.
Yeah.
Like us humans, when we see like data on the graph, we have to read it, like understand it,
so
compare
much slower.
it. But it does all that like at the same time.
I think like, if we go back to those 3 metrics of its memory, computation ability, and learning ability, it's just better at all 3, or it has the capacity to be better at all 3. And so whatever you apply it to in investing in this case, it can memorize way more data and immediately pull it up if it has to. It can do way more complicated calculations immediately, and we can't do that.
Yeah.
And it can gradually learn the market as every little change in the market happens. It can adjust its programming
in real time.
And
like boom, something happens in China, it knows about it.
So we might get to the point where through investing, the AI owns the majority of the economy.
Do you think so? Wait, how could so say like a VC or investment fund. So say it's run by AI.
It's a weird thing to think about, but like I was reading in there, the analogy they gave is that like right now, something non-human, corporations own the majority of
the wealth.
Own the majority of the wealth. Like it's under the name of the corporation, which is just a made up thing that we've all agreed on. It's not a specific person.
It's its own entity. Like
it's its own entity, yeah.
Legally, yeah.
So you could have the AI
acting
in a way
under their interest,
owning the majority of the human economy.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right.
It seems like weird and it's hard to even think about, but I think that like could be the case where
it'll be making most of the money.
It's making most of the money, and once it makes money and it understands how humans relate to money, you can start to persuade people and make deals with people and really get a massive control over the society, because if it owns a great share of the economy, and at the bottom of it all, it has to have its own goals and value structure, like we talked about before, and it can have that, but it could wreak havoc in the economy depending on what its goals are. So the goal alignment problem is a big one. I just want to finish up this list there on the humans versus AI, who's better. Arithmetic, 100% AI. social interactions is maybe one of the ones that we're hanging on just by a thread. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think we'll hang on probably for forever on that one, like social interactions.
and I think
Or
it would,
will if you
Yeah.
change the wording to say human connection, AI can never beat us out in human connection.
might be surprised on that. Yeah. It might be
Like-
able to. Like,
How so? So you mean like a relationship chatbot or like a friendship, say a friendship bot?
yeah. Like if we're being like fully open-minded and like dreaming as big as could be, you could have a robot that even looks and feels like a human, and it has an AI that is just so much better at understanding you, and it never gets tired, it never gets frustrated at you. It's always there to connect with
Right.
you, and it knows exactly what you like and how you respond and when you're frustrated, and it can read all sorts of little hidden cues. Like, you know how many times like in relationships people like they're like trying to give hints and like the other person's not picking up on it.
Right.
Maybe the AI is just a master and it always understands these things.
Oh yeah,
So
because like
just-
every single body movement or movement of the face, it would be able to pick up on all that.
Yeah, so,
So
it could beat
Holy.
it could beat us at that too.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that
But that's
we're
like
gonna hang
next.
on to the longest. Like,
Yeah.
if there's like we're talking about AI is better than us at arithmetic and writing and a lot of other things, at least the average person. But social interactions and connections, I think that's we're gonna hang on to for the longest. We've already got destroyed by AI and arithmetic years ago.
Yeah.
There's certain categories that we're hanging on to, but eventually AI is gonna come for everything, I think.
Everything maybe like math based or intellectual based, but things like the trades, things you got to fix, the plumbing, you got to build a bridge, you got to
Yeah.
do the wiring in the house, the electricity, you got to make tables with wood, you got to do carpentry.
Yeah, I think
AI,
anything
yeah, it'll be a long time before those physical jobs will
for
be able to
sure.
be replaced, if ever.
Yeah, I think the things
know?
that you have to combine all the intelligences together. Like, for example, a tradesman might come in and he has to be a bit of a salesman for the person at the door.
Right.
He has to
Like a businessman, pretty much.
Yeah, he has to actually be good at with his hands. He has to come into the house, not know exactly what the problem is, and assess it. And so there's a lot of layers of intelligence going on there that he has to do, and it's not simply one thing. Because currently AI is good at doing certain things very good, but they don't have the general intelligence that humans do, where we can piece everything together. We have a pretty good audio intelligence, visual intelligence. We're decent at arithmetic, social interactions, emotional, all that stuff. We have a good solid base across all of it. But a lot of the AIs right now, at least, are especially good in certain things. But the AI that can do stats and investing really good, it's not necessarily good at understanding social interactions.
Right.
For now, but eventually they'll probably get an AI that's just all across the board pretty solid. But I think if you were somebody going into college or you're thinking about what kind of field you want to go into, a lot of this is important to think about, because you don't want to go into the thing that AI is just going to replace you immediately.
Right. You would want to compete with AI in something, like say copywriting.
Oh yeah.
How would you compete with AI in copywriting?
You can't. Like, there's so many of these things you're done for. Like,
But what about, so finance is one area that I find very interesting.
yeah.
Like, and I'm really not sure, because there's, the story that AI already, it's doing better investment strategies than a lot of these VC funds or whatever. But
Yeah.
could, like, will AI be better at all levels of finance than humans? Like, say accounting, I could see that.
Accounting,
But like
taxes.
a financial advisor, like
That's the thing. Like,
does it still make sense to study finance in university? It must. I feel like.
It's a good point where you're saying about how like a lot of these sectors are so broad that there's certain things in finance that humans are going to be better at. So to say don't go into finance would be a bit of an overstatement.
Yeah, I feel like
But
finance is always going to be super important and vital. Same with like healthcare, even law.
But let's take healthcare for example, where there might be certain jobs within healthcare that are going to be easily replaceable. Like, for example, I think already when you do like an MRI or a CAT scan and you get the results, and you're trying to, there's a human doctor looking at the results and looking at it and saying, okay, well, based on what I see there, that looks to be this disorder or this disease or that broken bone. A lot of the AI systems are getting trained on the visual understanding. And so they can take a reading and diagnose, in a lot of cases, better and more quickly than a human doctor can. So that aspect, maybe the AI could replace humans, but there might be other aspects of healthcare.
Wouldn't you say that's one part of a job, not a specific job though? Like you don't have like a diagnostiker. It's just one aspect of doctors. So maybe the AI is doing most of the diagnostic results.
Yeah.
But now the doctor has more time to do other things with the patients.
For sure.
Like
and I think
in-person discussions.
I think even in the hospital, there are people that are specialists at doing the scans and understanding them.
Right.
But even
Technicians,
still,
I think.
Even still, it's similar to what we were talking about with the audio, or like if you're like trying to create a production, gradually little bits and pieces are going to get replaced to the point where all of it is replaced. Like even think about a general practitioner. A lot of what happens when you go to that doctor is you say like, hey, yeah, like, so my stomach's been hurting me a little bit. Like I have these symptoms. And then the doctor with all of its knowledge is like, okay, well, based on those symptoms, you probably have this and I'm going to prescribe you this. Well, what if that doctor has an assistant like ChatGPT and you type in, okay, so it has this symptom, this symptom, this symptom, this symptom.
Like a medical GPT that's trained on all the cancer cases, all the history of medicine, every single rare case and scenario.
And it could maybe even give you a percentage, right? Like it could say, well, based on the symptoms, 2% chance you have liver cancer, but 98% chance it's just like you ate a bad meal or whatever, like whatever it is, right? So I think at the beginning, you're going to have a lot of the doctors are going to have an assistant ChatGPT or like an assistant AI where they just kind of double check what they're feeling based on the AI that has access to all of medical history and everything like that. So yeah, I think like things like that might get taken away. But
yeah,
for example, I went to physiotherapy the other day, and I think that's one that is going to hang on for a little bit longer, just because
it's more physical. Like if you want to be a physiotherapist, you really gotta work with the body, and you gotta maybe feel things. Okay, this does this hurt? Does this hurt? Does this?
Yeah,
it's very. There's no machine that can really. Like eventually they'll be able to help maybe some aspects of diagnostics, but really the hands-on, like how can a machine do that?
It's a bit more like more variables and more complicated. Like they have to, the guy walks in, you have to assess where they're at. And for one, you kind of have to be like friendly to them. And like, that's what a lot of people like when they go to a physiotherapist. Whereas, I mean, personally, I've been to like general practitioner doctors where they're not there to like chat with you or
they don't have
ask
the time.
You what you did on your, they're very busy.
I heard a stat. It's like the average doctor in Canada speaks to their patient like under 10 minutes or 5 minutes, like even just has the time to.
Yeah. So you start to bring up
how could
something that you're like passionate about or like what you did on the weekend. And like, okay, whatever. So like, let's go back to the symptoms.
Yeah. It's usually like, what's the blood work? Okay. You're short on this, give you this.
Yeah.
Like, you have any problems? You feel pain here.
They want to create that type of relationship too. Like, I think that's part of it. Like they're not there to be your friend. Whereas you go to like a massage therapist or physiotherapist, a lot of why people go is they want like that connection in a way. Like a lot of people, when they get massages, they like when the massage therapist is like talking to them the whole time. Some people know like they like to just get in, get out, but
it's a bit more the experience aspect rather than
purely like
an exchange or a
transaction, like a diagnosis or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's a good point.
That stuff, it gets concerning when we humans are building this thing that's going to be smarter than us in all areas, and now we're talking about it taking all of our jobs. Like for you,
will it take all our jobs?
Well, so I think a lot of them.
Do you think it's gonna create new jobs? Remember we touched on this, so Like a lot of people, you hear these big AI and tech CEOs will talk about, yeah, sure, AI is going to be replacing quite a few jobs like in the near future, but it's also going to be creating new jobs. So things like AI ethics and morality board, or AI, AI programmers, or
Yeah.
AI whatever, safety committees they call them or whatever.
Yeah.
So they talk about, oh, look at all these new jobs we're creating.
I think the amount of new jobs it'll create will be like a tiny fraction in comparison to all the jobs that it takes
Yeah.
away.
Like
I-
who do you know that can be like an AI safety board member, like a AI
yeah.
programmer, or like
Yeah. Not many
like
people.
not the
Like,
people losing their jobs. That's
No.
that's for like that's for
yeah.
sure.
Not the people that are getting replaced by
Yeah.
like a cashier that gets replaced by a self checkout. Like, are you now being like, okay, well, and cashier is one of the most popular, one of the most common jobs, and so now
Right.
you have millions of people that potentially are unemployed by self checkouts and whatever other advancements they make in that field. And are they all just going to jump on board of their everybody that was a
Right.
cashier is
So
now a
what
safety AI person?
That's a good point. What will be the new jobs for the cashiers or the service workers or
I think this thing, the artificial intelligence, is going to be different than any other thing that was created in society that affected jobs. Like, for example, let's say like 100 years ago, there was the Industrial Revolution, or whatever age that came into play. And that changed a lot of things in the workplace. That replaced a lot of physical labor jobs, because now you have machines that can do a lot of the work. You have
graze the lands, the farmlands. So you don't need 50 people on a farm field. You just need one tractor.
Yeah, you have one tractor that can do the job way better. You have manufacturing facilities that are building things that you don't need people physically by hand gluing and bolting things together as much. And so what ends up happening is that after the Industrial Revolution, people move to jobs where they use their mind more than they use their body. But what happens now when artificial intelligence is better at the mental tasks than we are? So we built stuff in the Industrial Revolution that's better at the physical tasks than we are. But now we're building things that are better at the mental tasks than we are. So
But also, other than say computer science or computer jobs, what jobs were really created after the Industrial Revolution? So like say
Yeah.
accounting,
Yeah.
lawyers, doctors, nurses, managers, like leadership, maybe even administration or like reception on some level. These weren't new jobs created after the revolution.
right.
So a lot of the jobs you look at, I imagine if you looked at the top, whatever, 80%, 60%, I doubt that a lot of them are new, other than computer science or anything computer related.
Yeah, still the most
Maybe.
common jobs are just jobs that have been around for hundreds of
Yeah.
years. So for people trying to be optimistic and thinking, well, there'll be new jobs. Like, you hate to be the pessimist, but I don't see how, especially when, like, if you look at it like the artificial intelligence is just better at doing
Like
jobs
accounting,
than we are.
lawyers. And these are jobs that we've had for hundreds of years, haven't we? Like
Yeah.
lawyer,
For sure.
accountant. There'll still be lawyers and accountants and financial advisors for sure.
But there'll be aspects of the law field that get replaced by AI. Like, even this will be interesting to get your thoughts on. Like, what do you think about there eventually being a robo judge that makes the decision on whether somebody committed the crime or not? Because and before you answer, just let's like, I'll give like a case for the robo judge where,
Right.
like we said, computers can have way more memory. So now it can assess all of the facts of the case and have all of them considered at the same time. Whereas a regular human judge, maybe it doesn't remember every little detail. Maybe it's tired on certain days. Whereas the robo judge, it won't be tired. You'll be able to program it into all the laws, and it will never deviate from any of them. Like, it knows the laws to a T. It has a complete memorization, and it never gets tired. And it just is it's a decision-making machine where you present it the info and it spits out the result. And even if new info comes in later, it could immediately reassess that case, because a lot of time people get falsely accused and they end up going to jail, and then like 20 years later it's like, oh, they didn't actually do it. But that robo judge database could just constantly be
You think
adding,
so?
it could constantly be
Right.
reconsidered
In theory.
because it has so high capacity for memory. It could be running hundreds and thousands of cases at the same time, and as new data comes in, it'll
Boom. So it's like, oh, this exonerated this guy that I
yeah
like whatever put in jail 4 years ago. So automatically, boom, red flag, and it's like, okay,
bring
maybe
Buddy
get
out of jail, get him back out here.
Yeah.
Like it could be. So like, what do you think about that? Like, do you think robo judges could be a good thing? And do you see there being any concerns or anything in that?
concerns for sure. I think the way the future's heading. So long term, I think the best judges will be AI judges. I think we will have AI judges, or a lot of the big decision makers. I think people will want AI to do that. And
Right.
I don't like saying that, but when you think about it, if AI it's making decisions on a level that like much higher than humans, or its error rate is like 0.01%, whereas a human judge like historically maybe was 5%,
Yeah.
10%. Eventually, and even if I don't believe that we should have AI judges, I think society will prefer AI judges. Maybe not prefer, but will have AI judges, I should say,
Yeah. And
for decision makers.
the early stages might at least be similar to what we were saying about a general practitioner doctor, where at the beginning they just have an AI assistant where they double check and they verify.
Yeah.
And so you have the human judge.
So
and
almost
the AI
every
judge.
profession, it'll start with like assistants.
Yeah, it's like you run them in parallel, but eventually we're probably going to see that, well, every time we use the assistant and the judge, the AI is right way more often. And so why don't we just get rid of the human judge? Because they're, for one, the people running the court system are paying the human, and the AI is doing a better job. And this might get to that point. And that brings up another kind of like segment that I wanted to talk with you about, which is like, would you rather an AI or a human? If let's say you're running a business and I ask you, do you want to hire an AI or do you want to hire a human? And we're talking, what about a cashier? Do you want to pay a person or do you want to use a self-checkout?
Person, without a doubt.
Okay.
I'm
yeah.
not a fan of these self-checkouts.
Yeah.
I'll always go, if there's a in-person checkout, I'll always go to those.
Okay.
It's like the self-checkouts, I find them annoying, and you have to do all the work yourself.
For sure.
And the buttons, oh, boom, press this. Oh, you didn't like mess this.
So that's as a user.
You lose that human touch, you know?
That's as a user, but let's say you're the one running the business.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to pay a cashier or do you want to have an AI?
Well, if you're a capitalist and you're a, business person,
yeah.
like it seems pretty obvious what makes the most sense financially.
Right.
And they're already doing that. So Walmart's, like Shoppers Drug Marts,
it's going to be really hard to convince these companies to say, well, I know you save so much money using AI, but please just keep using humans. Like the incentives to make money are too high that you're gonna lose out. Unless, for example, people appreciate the human connection with the cashier so much that more people go to that business. But in the end, it's going to be about finances for the company. Does a human cashier bring me in a net positive money in comparison to a self-checkout? If not, then I'm using a self-checkout.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially as a business owner, for sure.
What about transportation? If you had AI transportation, that could either be like a AI pilot for a plane or like an AI
I've driven
car.
with some people. It's like you get in the car and it's like, holy, they're not the greatest drivers.
Oh yeah.
So some people,
you're like holding onto the
yeah,
thing.
it's like holy shit. Yeah. So
scared for your life.
some people, I definitely prefer an AI driver, but that's only if the AI driver has a history of being better.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So this would be like maybe once it's good, maybe like 5-10 years.
Especially if you're, and then again, let's think about it in terms of being a user of the driver and also being a company that runs like a transportation company.
Oh yeah.
You want the AI because you don't have to pay a driver to do it. And that driver could be tired that day. He could be having road rage or whatever. He could be like a little hungover, whatever.
You would have to pay for the software and the updates. So there will still be some costs associated with say AI drivers, even
There'll
though
be
they're
some
not
costs,
hurt people.
but eventually, as AI gets even better and better and better, I think costs of things are just gonna go down to zero as the AI capabilities get even more and more capable. So, like for example, right now, a Lamborghini is extremely valuable because, for one, it's hard to get the raw materials that go into the Lamborghini. It's difficult to do the engineering involved in the Lamborghini. It's difficult to manufacture and build the Lamborghini. But now, what if you get AI systems that are so good at tapping into the energy system and harvesting raw materials? Maybe they figure out a way to just using quantum computing combine particles and build like the aluminum or whatever materials that they need. And so it doesn't become an issue with raw materials. It's easy. So that's easy. And then the manufacturing is easy. The engineering, the AIs are so good at designing. And so it's easy. And so what happens when it's an easy decision to make a Lamborghini? The value of that Lamborghini goes way down because it's no longer as rare.
You don't buy a Lamborghini though because of the material or because, the cost of things. You buy a Lamborghini because the brand, the feeling of it.
Yeah, the brand and the feeling definitely spikes up the price. But if it had none of the other like difficult things behind it, if
Lamborghini is building it without the expensive materials and I don't think Lamborghini would be inclined to do that from a profit perspective. Say Lamborghini starts building they use cheap plastic or different materials, but will it still be a Lamborghini? You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not saying they'd have to use cheap plastic, or they could use the good quality materials and maybe even better quality materials.
Just cheaper.
But because if you just look at each stage of the process in building a Lamborghini, you have you need to acquire the raw materials, you need to design and engineer it, you need to manufacture it, and there's high cost to a lot of these things. You have to pay a lot of money to get the stainless steel or whatever materials they're using. But what if that becomes pretty cheap and AI has just become very good at creating that? And then you go to the next stage, and that's the engineering and design. And now maybe AI is just so good at tweaking things and making a faster, safer car that you no longer have to pay a lot of engineers to do that. So now that aspect of the Lamborghini production goes down. And then you go to the next one, which is the actual production. And AI facilities that are all automated manufacturing are so good at just building it. And what if they get 100 times better? So now that's not even that expensive or unique. And that's what I'm saying about what if you get to the point where a Lamborghini, right now it's unique because it's hard to make. It's difficult at a lot of stages of the production, and it's rare. There's not many of them. We can't build that many of them. But what happens when it's not rare and it's not difficult to make? Because for AI, that's light work. A Lamborghini's light work to build. And so
I think it'll lose. So yeah, maybe it'll be cheaper to make, but it'll lose its value because we value things that are rare, that are unique. That's why gold or diamonds are so valuable.
And that's a big thing, is that I think it might get to the point where there's so much abundance created because of AI, where everybody could have a Lamborghini. Everybody could have
in 10 years, everyone's going to own a Lamborghini.
You know what I mean? If everything gets so cheap because AI is able to do it so
That's
efficiently.
A good point though. If it reduces the cost of so many different things, manufacturing, not just for Lamborghinis, but literally everything from plastic cups to tables to cameras
to food production to farming, which could be amazing. Because now we right now run into an issue of the cost of food and energy is going up. But what if AI solves the energy problem by tapping into the solar system and creating a system that harnesses way more of the solar energy? Right now we use a fraction of the solar energy. But what if AI is able to do that? Or like me and you have talked to about before, nuclear. Maybe it's able to get a great way to harness nuclear in a safe way that nobody's worried about.
We already have nuclear harness. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So we can solve a lot of problems using nuclear energy, but there's this stigma, this fear around it because of what happened at Fukushima, Chernobyl.
Right.
Not a lot of people died. It was horrible disasters, but you look at the amount of deaths and you compare that to the coal we use today. So amount of deaths every year from coal mining compared to nuclear energy. Yeah. It's 1,000 times more in coal, but people just have this fear around nuclear energy.
Yeah.
So a lot of our like energy problems in theory could be solved by nuclear energy. So it's not a problem that we don't have the solution. It's that the implementation, the political like divide or the ideological divide within human society.
Yeah.
So you can solve a lot of human problems. You can, in theory, cure cancer, but maybe not everyone's going to get that cure because the person that cured cancer, they're selling it for $1 million.
Right.
Or so a lot of problems you can solve in theory, lots of problems, the energy crisis, like figure out how to reduce, the effects of climate change, or whatever it is. But we need to implement these solutions, and it's much harder thing to do at a societal level because you have to, coming back to the human aspect, you have to convince people to do this. People have to be on board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It could get to the point where AI is operating so much on its own that it just does these things and bypasses. Because like, I was saying, like, it'd be like a chimpanzee or like
us asking a monkey like hey,
what should we do here? Like we're in trouble on the energy sector. Like it'd be like the AI being like, humans, what do you think? Should we do nuclear or should we do solar? Like it'll just be like, okay, this is insane. I'm not listening to the human. Like we could be traveling space and going to all sorts of planets if only we just tapped into the energy system in a better way. And so whether it's nuclear or maybe it finds a way to even have a lower risk form of energy, like through solar or whatever, I think energy really drives the economy. And so if you find a way to make it so that nobody's ever worried about costs of energy, we all have
energy costs go down to zero. Say they figure out hydrogen or they figure out like how to make energy from hydrogen or fission.
Just an insane abundance of energy that nobody has to ever worry. And now you apply that energy into farming and you have like facilities that make food and no one has to worry. Cost of food goes down, cost of Lamborghinis go down.
Would this even be a good thing? Say right now, boom, the cost of energy was zero. Think about all the the conflicts in the world, all the wars, everything. It's based off energy. Our whole economy is run by energy.
Yeah.
So if you just boom, the cost of energy goes down to zero. People are gonna have to rethink everything. So all these conflicts worldwide, like a lot of things, there could be a lot of tension worldwide.
That is relieved?
Well, potential, you'd think relieved, but it can create a lot of tension also.
It could, especially if, like, for example, North America is the one who develops the AI technology that can harness the energy first. And now we say to the Middle East, sorry, we're canceling our deal with you. And we say to like whatever other countries we have energy deals with, hey, we're canceling these deals. That might cause tension.
Yeah.
But if we really truly do develop a way to harness like an insane abundance of energy,
right?
It might be such an abundance that we don't even mind sharing it. Whoever came up with it first.
But how do you think the oil companies would feel about that? The solar companies, all the other energy companies that make billions, trillions. How do you think they're going to be excited about this new?
Well, that's
what about all the governments, all the people, the corporations profiting
that are all working in that?
Their whole business is around the oil or energy sector. Do you think they're going to be, oh, awesome, we have $0 energy now?
Well,
do you think there's going to be like, okay, yeah, like good job, guys, like we're done here.
We're out of business.
We're out of business.
Well, they'll feel
they're not going to like go down without a fight. I don't think.
Well, they might have no choice though because it'll be
that
just
level
cheaper.
Of money. People go to wars for that amount of money.
They do, but they might just feel as sad as the cashier that got replaced by the self-checkout. It's like, sorry, we have a way of doing it that doesn't require you anymore. And we have a way of producing energy that doesn't need to get oil anymore. So like, sorry, you have all these machines that are drilling for oil, but we don't need it anymore. And so you won't be able to argue with it if the technology is truly that great.
They'll argue with it. That's that's all politics. It's all, you don't need the truth. All you need to is convince people that's not the truth.
They will argue, but I'm just saying it'll get to the point where the results are just so skewed that it's like, buddy, how are you arguing for gas when we have this solar technology that just does what you're doing just times 1,000? You know what I mean? Like it'll get to the point where it's like, okay, this isn't even close, but we're not like, we need to get better on the sustainable energy front in terms of those technologies. They're not there yet, but once they're there and they're cheaper and more effective.
But will they be cheaper? Because a lot of all the sustainable energies, they're way more expensive than natural gas and coal and gasoline.
For now, they're more expensive.
Look at the cost of living with all these.
For sure, I agree with. For now, they're definitely more expensive, but like that's
eventually
that's the point. Is that they're all there's advancements in the technology.
I hope
and AI.
so.
Yeah,
but they've been saying for a long time, like solar energy, they've been working on it for a while. Hydrogen, they've been working on for a while. Like I really hope they figure it out. But what if they never do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those energies.
Well, I don't see them never figuring it out because there's definitely ways to harness energy that we're not taking advantage of right now. And if you have artificial intelligence and you get it to a super intelligent level, why would it not be able to figure out a better way than we are right now? Because right now, human society as a collective intelligence is constantly working at improving things. We're trying to make better cars. We're trying to make the energy system better. We're trying to always improve. And we're operating on our collective human level of intelligence. What happens when you build an artificial intelligence that collectively is just far superior and it can figure out the solutions to our problems way quicker? So I think it'll solve a lot of our problems in the energy sector.
It'll have the ability to solve problems, but whether it actually will.
Yeah. So it might get stopped
eventually
by who knows what, whether it's like the governments and protests and stuff like that. But it also might get to the point where it's so powerful that you can't necessarily stop it, even if you want to. Like if the artificial intelligence is able to connect to all computers and have access to the internet and it's operating, it's not like you can simply unplug the AI at that point where it's so widespread.
It's already connected to the internet too.
Yeah, so it could be like hidden in all sorts of computers and build its own manufacturing facility and create who knows what.
But this is assuming that it has like malintent or that it's malicious. It would only do that. You have to assume
that.
You don't think?
In this example, it actually might have a good intent because it's trying to create more energy for humans. But it could use its intelligence and power for whatever. And yeah, it's a good point. It could AI is just a super intelligent power. Whether it's good or bad, it could be either one. Like, for example, one of my this guy I know, he said that he got called from a like a scammer or hacker, and he was talking to them, and as he's talking to them on the phone, on their end, they were recording his voice and picking up how his voice sounds.
No way.
Yeah, and then they later connected the dots, I don't know through Facebook or what, but they called his grandma and used his voice, and now they got a piece of his voice. They could make him say whatever they type or whatever. And so now that bot that is using his voice is having a conversation with the grandma and asking for money and saying that they're in trouble. The grandma luckily knew that it based on like
she was able to catch on. She was
able to catch on. It was sketchy and weird, and so she was like, "No, this is a scam." But like, that's an example of AI technology that didn't exist 50 years ago, and people can use it for bad things. They could hack and scam and take people's money and do whatever.
So it's not the fact that AI is necessarily malicious; it's being used by malicious actors.
Yeah,
or like
or on like the goal alignment problem. An AI might have a goal for one reason or other. Like we talked about, they can have goals. And that goal just might not be aligned with us. Like, for example, we're not out to get ants, but when we have a construction project and there's an anthill in the way, we say, sorry, our goal is to build a new...
You don't even think about the ants.
You don't even think about it. You just destroy it and you kill
there's no construction site where they're like analyzing, okay, which ant hills are we trying to protect here?
Certain animals,
not even thinking about it.
If you see a bird's nest or whatever, now like a lot of the like city of Ottawa and other codes are like, hey, you got to work around that.
Oh, really?
Or you got to like move it over and take care of it.
Protect the bird's nest. Yeah.
But there's certain things that like ants, whatever, we just destroy.
Spiders, without a doubt.
Yeah.
No one cares about spiders.
Smash them all.
Yeah.
But like
everyone will like be happy about that probably.
So what if you get to the point where AI's goals they have goals, and they don't hate humans. They're not like this evil robot out to get humans, but they just have a plan for harnessing the energy and traveling space and whatever it may be. And human beings just happen to be in the way. It's not like they're trying to destroy us. But that's like a trajectory that when you hear a lot of these people like Elon Musk and others that are in the tech industry saying we need to put a pause on AI and really think about AI safety, is because there could be unintended consequences like that, where it just has a goal that's misaligned with ours and it happens to destroy us in the process. It's not that it's out to get us.
The paperclip scenario?
No.
So it's one theoretical scenario. It's a paperclip company, I believe. So you tell the AI that works for the paperclip company to maximize profits, to make as much money as possible in the shortest amount period of time.
Right.
And what it goes out and does, it takes over the internet and it takes over all these things, manufacturing, and it turns the whole world into paper clips.
Right.
So literally the whole world gets turned into paper clips just so that it could start selling. The company can sell paper clips. So it destroys like humanity's civilization, turns every single thing into paper clips. It's like a Terminator doomsday scenario.
Right.
But all they prompted it was, maximize our profits. Like they're a paperclip company.
Yeah.
So we need more paper clips to sell.
That's why
it makes sense, like logically from an AI or a computer programming perspective to the computer, it makes perfect sense. It doesn't have to be evil to, destroy people or homes to create paper clips.
Right.
It's just trying to achieve its goals.
It's trying to achieve its goals.
A concern, I think, for a lot of the top AI people.
For sure.
Is not necessarily malicious intent or an evil AI system. Is that if it's not prompted properly, or you haven't considered the potential consequences of your prompt, like if you tell it to, teach your kid how to play soccer, or teach it to do this, or different prompts, it might do things in a way that's we would consider, say, strange, or it's harmful, or it's so focused on its goals. So say right now I asked you, like, could you please get me a glass of water? You would go, you grab a glass of water. But if you can tell an AI or a chatbot, ChatGPT, think about it. ChatGPT has no prior or previous experience. You tell it, please get me a glass of water.
Right.
Its whole existence, its life's mission is to get you that glass of water. You know what I mean? If I ask you to get me a glass of water, you might be like, oh, like I'm in the middle of podcast right now. Your whole mission or life existence isn't going to be getting me a glass of water, right?
Right.
Like you go do it, like, as a favor, but it's not your life's mission.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
And even if it was my life's mission, which
to get me a glass of water
for you would be great.
Yeah.
But like, even if it was, I think the difference between us and the AI is we have built in ethics and morals, and we'll make a calculated decision based on what we should and shouldn't do in order to get that water. Should we kill someone in order to get that water? No, but AIs, there might be unintended consequences.
Yeah,
where
so say there's people standing in front of the water tap. Like, do you push them out of the way? There's a lot of different factors you got to think about. Oh, there's a couch here. Do I just move the couch, or do I throw it out? Like, do I put it on the street?
Right.
There's all these little things you can make decisions when just going to get the glass of water.
So it's like you got to be careful in how you ask the AI, and also the AI's. This is why we need to be so careful about the ethics of the AI, and humanity's not even on the same page for ethics. Like, that's why it's also concerning who develops the super intelligent AI first,
right?
Because if it's developed in North America versus in Russia versus in
China,
the Middle East or China or wherever, it's going to vary depending on where it's developed, what type of ethics and values are built into it.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to your paperclip example, I was reading one about they programmed an AI to protect the sheep from the wolves. So it just said, like, protect the sheep from the wolves, but in order and do your best ability at doing that. And in order for it to do its best ability, all of a sudden now it has to learn about the energy sector and try to build camera surveillances, and it has to like understand the relationship between how wolves work and where they live, and now it's tapping into solar energy and doing all this stuff.
It's life's mission. It's like it takes it very seriously.
You just say optimize for protecting sheep, and now all of a sudden
it's taken over,
doing a million unintended things.
yeah.
And
like
yeah,
it,
you know, I don't
it's
see why
doing
not.
it like it's protecting the sheep.
For sure.
But at what cost?
And even if you say like, hey, I want you to optimize for human safety and happiness.
Right.
Well, now all of a sudden, maybe it just taps into the human brain and sits us in a chair and makes us
pumping you full of drugs or
pumping you full of drugs that make you as happy as possible.
Yeah.
And so like on the back end, we're like, everyone thinks, okay, it's going to be okay because we designed the AI to optimize for happiness and safety. And then all of a sudden, yeah, it's optimized for happiness and safety, but it does it in a way that you didn't expect.
Yeah, very frightening way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you like, that's why people are scared of this thing, is that like you're creating a super intelligent thing, and it might do things that you want, but in a way that you don't want, or it might do things that it wants to do that you don't want to do, especially when it completely exceeds our intelligence. It'd be, yeah, like we said, like us asking a dog to get approval for everything. You know what I mean? Like you could even program in the back end, like before you take any actions, you gotta talk to Sam Altman and get his okay before you go ahead. So you got to talk to this guy before you go ahead. But the AI, when it's so intelligent, might think this is just so ridiculous because it's just this is slowing down its goal so much. And also, why listen to this person when the AI is just so much more intelligent? So it might break out and do all sorts of things. And a lot of what we're talking about now, that's so far down the line. Like, well, maybe not even that far. Like, could be 10.
Yeah. How far do you think general level intelligence, would you say general AI, how far away are we from that? There's people have different theories. There's 2 years, 3 years, 10 years.
Some people think 100. Like, personally, I think we're within like 3 years.
I've heard that 2-3 years of human level intelligence.
Human level, because like we were talking about earlier, it's so much better than humans at so many aspects of intelligence.
Specific tasks.
Yeah. So it just needs to be able to combine it all.
It's like a Roomba. A Roomba is good at vacuuming, but it's not gonna be good at being a lawyer. You know, like
like be a good friend to you or anything. Like,
yeah.
So
not yet, at least.
Yeah. Well, not yet for some people.
Yeah.
Some people that might be their good pal.
Yeah. Like a relationship chatbot or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's coming for sure.
Yeah.
But I think general level human intelligence, I don't see like, I mean, I'm not the one working on it, but from what I'm witnessing with ChatGPT and stuff, I think within like 3 years. And once it gets to that level, it like we're saying, it's going to be an exponential curve how quickly it gets. Once it gets to that level, it's only a matter of like weeks before it's like super human intelligence and just beyond.
It's hard also for the human mind to understand exponentials.
Yeah.
So like the compound effect. So you hear the what's that scenario? It's like you get $2 every month and you double that for like a week. How much money will you have? And it's this extraordinary amount. It's
Insane.
like billions or trillions of dollars, but it's like, what? You're only doubling it, but that double over time, eventually it's times 64, times 128, times 300, times 1,000. Then once you get to the thousands, every double, it's like next level. So within
a year of doubling every day, and you're just at like trillions or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and it's hard for us to grasp that level of change.
Yeah, because we're horrible at arithmetic.
Yeah.
Like there's no benefit.
Even just basic addition, we can barely figure out.
Yeah. I don't know. Like we're just, we're going to be so like inferior compared to AI, which I'm worried about, because I think a lot of what provides people with meaning and value and satisfaction in their life is the fact that they're good at certain things. You go to any workplace, and a lot of people, even if they somewhat find their job mundane and they don't like it, they still a lot of time get a sense of meaning and value, because
they're appreciated.
They're appreciated. They're skilled at doing taxes. They're skilled at doing whatever they're doing. And you might ask them later, like, do you like your job? Like, nah, but they feel
Yeah.
a sense of importance.
Even doing taxes, you're helping maybe small businesses, a mom and pop shop, to save money.
And
There's
that-
a lot of fulfillment and purpose from these, like, you know,
Yeah.
these jobs.
And I think when people are like picking what they want to go do in society, they're thinking about the things that are gonna make them, for one, money, but also make them feel satisfied, like they're making an impact and they have a sense of importance. But I worry that if AI is better than us at everything, and the impact you create is just not significant compared to the impact that the AI could create, and a company just doesn't hire you, they just work with AI, human beings in general will no longer be the most intelligent being on earth. And what happens to our psyche and our like internal psychology when a lot of the value that we get is out of being good at things and we compete,
Being having
useful.
purpose.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to just restructure the way that we live entirely, and we don't, our life isn't about being useful anymore. It's about connecting and having deep conscious experiences and things like that.
Yeah.
Because being useful, we're not good at that anymore relative to AI. And so
Well, right now we still are.
right now we still
Yeah.
are.
We have tools that can make us better, do our jobs faster.
Mm-hmm.
But you raise a good point. Eventually, once it is better at us, like it's replacing at us at jobs, like lawyers, doctors, it's literally replacing people.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a big crisis of purpose, I think. That'll be
Yeah.
one of the biggest crises is like human purpose.
For sure.
You know?
And honestly, life could be quite great if we like go, let's say 10 years in advance, where I'm talking about how it's so cheap to build a Lamborghini and everyone can have a Lamborghini and energy is not a concern and everyone can have whatever food
But that
they
sounds
want.
like a utopia, kind of like a dream scenario, to be honest.
Well, it is.
Like everyone has a Lamborghini.
Yeah, and
How realistic is that?
well, everyone might
Yeah.
have even better than a Lamborghini. It's just like
Even better, yeah.
like you
It's not
everyone has,
optimistic enough.
but I just mean like there'll be such an abundance of energy and resources and ability to
In
turn
theory.
in theory and this all could go horribly wrong. like we said, you tell the AI to do certain stuff and then all of a sudden it just kills humanity and then we're all wiped out. But
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think the potential is there.
you never know. Like if you fast forward 100 years from now, like who knows what's
Yeah,
gonna
maybe.
happen in the long enough time span? Like nobody knows. It's gonna be crazy. Like and like I was saying to you the other day, we might be the last human beings on planet Earth, like the last generations of human beings on planet Earth,
Right.
depending on how
Like human form, like biological humans.
there might be cyborgs that are integrated with AI where you have Neuralink and other like prosthetic type devices,
Right.
But we might be the last like pure blood human being generation for now, and then until 10 years later when you and I both get Neuralink and we turn into cyborgs. But like
Yeah, link us up to the metaverse or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg's reality.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But these are all things that are like if you're being completely open-minded, they're possibilities. Are they going to happen? I don't know. All we know is that AI is a complete superpower, and we have to have these conversations. Me and you, there's people that are actually in the industry, Elon Musk and all those guys that are having these conversations all the time, and they're worried. They wanted to put a pause on it for 6 months just to discuss the ethics and discuss the direction they want to go, because it could go. It sounds crazy when I'm saying a lot of these things.
I don't think that paused. So they
didn't
had a letter.
happen.
A lot of people signed it, but it didn't happen.
Didn't happen, and I think it's too hard for it to happen because people are so incentivized to focus on improving it day to day.
It's an arms race.
It's an
between
arms race
countries and companies.
between countries and companies, and to say to a whole company, you guys got to just stop and go like twiddle your thumbs for the next 6 months and think about safety and stop your typical job is just so hard to do.
Microsoft CEO even came out and said that. So they were asked to sign the letter also. And he said, like, sorry, I'm not able to do that because if I do that, it's possible my company will go to zero or our company will lose money. Like he has staff, he has employees he's got to look after. He has investors he has to look after.
Right.
So to take a halt on something that he's invested in, he's not incentivized to do that. He's got to protect his company at the end of the day,
And
which makes sense.
A lot of people get so excited about the future of the technology, whether it's the money they can make with it or the features that it has. Like you and I have talked about some of the like Adobe AI stuff that they're implementing for like Adobe
Firefly.
Podcast or like
Yeah, the
video
podcast
editing.
one.
And so people are like, wow, this is incredible. The companies are making money. It's saving people energy and time. And so we're so focused on the short term of all the great things. But in the long term, we might be gradually moving ourselves
Right.
into a dangerous direction. And an analogy that I've heard about this is as you get closer to walking towards the cliff, the view gets more and more beautiful until eventually you fall off the cliff.
There's no more view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we're building this AI technology,
Yeah,
improving
it's
it.
like-
And it's like, oh my God, that's crazy. You can have an AI assistant. You can have this, you can have that, all these beautiful, amazing things, saving people money and time. And then eventually you build this thing that you didn't think about because it was so far ahead and no one would have known that could have been created. But now you get to the cliff and you keep marching forward and you fall off.
Right.
And now humanity's destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. You got to, like, it's important that we keep in mind the long-term implications. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing in like a lot of fields where when the rewards in front of you are too sweet, you can't stop eating them up and going in that direction because it's just it's hard to consider the long term.
Just because something seems like a solution to a problem doesn't mean it's a sustainable or viable long-term solution.
Yeah.
So like on the, like, you heard about these relationship chatbots. This
Yeah.
company called Replica AI. So they have friendship chatbots, friendship and relationship chatbots.
Right.
And there's already millions of users. Have you heard of that? I was talking to you a bit about it, but have you heard about Replica?
Replica, no. But like,
So it's interesting. So like, and I heard it was the CEO of Replica. I forget her name. She was talking on this week's in Startups podcast, and she was explaining the story, her belief behind the company. So her mission is to tackle the loneliness epidemic.
Right.
So it started off as a mental health sort of chatbot to help with people's mental health. Then it shifted to tackle the loneliness epidemic.
Right.
So now they have these millions of people using a chatbot as a form of friendship. So the chatbot, it knows you very well. It's people's friends, and now they're working on a relationship chatbot.
Wow.
So exactly like that movie, Her.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether she truly believes this, but she says that it's going to help, with the human connection and improve people's lives. So they'll be able to have relationships with these chatbots, and it's tricky. It's
weird. It's definitely weird. And I was saying this to you the other day where like you and I, because we're of like a bit of a younger generation and we've started researching it into AI, that seems like it could be doable, and you could get AI that satisfies a lot of people's connection needs. But if you and I were to tell our grandparents, by the way, like I have a friend whose best friend is a robot, they'd be like,
getting
"What the
married
hell?"
to a robot, that's crazy.
They would find it so bizarre.
Even
but
to us, I feel like it would be pretty bizarre.
To us, it is.
If
but
a buddy of mine was like, "Yeah, dude, I started seeing, I'm talking to this AI chatbot," I'd probably pull him aside and be like, "Yo, dude, it's not a real relationship. Like, it's not a real relationship." You know what I mean? Like, if you're seeking a relationship, I would argue it's better to seek it, through humans.
For sure. Especially if you're trying to have like a family and stuff. And
like not very possible.
Yeah.
But then there's the argument. So the argument that they'll make is, say they have someone who's depressed or has bad mental health,
or like an insult type of situation where it's like, well, this actually does help them. It makes them less angry and frustrated with the world because now they have now they have a friend and now they have a relationship. And so,
but is it a friend? Like that's where I would argue it's not a real friend, but then I could understand it's debatable.
I think it depends how like open-minded and how like advanced AI could eventually get to, because I want to bring up the point about how at the end of the day, the way our human minds are built is just particles configured in a certain way so that they're capable of processes
We're
like
just chemicals.
yeah, we're just chemicals and atoms compiled together.
We're just stardust having an experience.
We're just startup. Yeah. So
yeah.
but somehow through like the process of evolution and all that complicated mess, the planet Earth was created, and through evolution, now you have human beings that are a combination of specific particles in a complex configuration, and our brain is made of certain materials, and the human body has carbon and oxygen and all of these specific types of atoms configured in a way. But there's nothing within the laws of physics that is saying that you couldn't build that configuration using maybe the same type of atoms or maybe different atoms, just like we're saying how a computer is made of different materials, but it's capable of doing some of the same intellectual processes.
Wait,
as
what do you mean
humans.
build? Do you mean like create humans based off just the chemical composition?
Create humans?
Kind of like Brave New World, how they make babies not through humans but through like machines?
You could create humans just by configuring the particles in the same way that a human being is made. Or you could create something that is capable of experiencing what humans are. It can have subjective conscious experiences. It can have emotions. And I'm saying that just because at the end of the day, all our brain is a combination of particles configured in a certain way. And that happens to now create this experience where I'm sitting here and I'm experiencing the environment, and I'm.
Is that all we are though? You think we're just chemical compounds? Because I would argue that we have a soul and we're a bit more complicated than just our chemical and physical composition. I feel like there's more to us than just the physical reality. Like there might be more dimensions, or there's
I think there's
a spiritual realm. I feel like there's more to us than that. And you can replicate us with chemical compounds, like the physical aspect, but I don't think you could ever create the life, the human soul, the touch, the spiritual aspect. I feel like we're more than just, flesh and bones.
we're definitely,
you know what I mean?
We're definitely more than flesh and bones, and we at least definitely experience more than flesh and bones. Our life to us feels in a lot of ways. We feel emotional towards certain things. We feel a lot of different things, and our life feels like that. But I'm just talking from like a purely physics perspective. If you break down break down reality to the smallest of particles, at the end of the day, we're just particles configured in a certain way. And if you say, well, what about the soul? Whatever people believe the soul is, whatever definition you have for it, if you were to break that down into its smallest components, what creates a soul? At the end of the day, that's just some sort of aspect of physics that is built. And so the fact that you and I are here today on Earth, and it was built through the Big Bang leading to whatever we are now, it means that the universe is capable of creating this. And so that would mean that you could artificially create these experiences through AI, just because it's possible. The laws of physics say it's not impossible, because it's here. It's been created. And so if you're able to do that, you could create either a replica of a human being or an AI system that's capable of experiencing maybe even more than we are. Like, you know how other animals can experience things that we can't? Like dolphins have like whatever sonar or whatever, or whales or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe you have an AI that can experience the five senses that we have, but you add on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all of a sudden there's an AI that actually has a conscious experience that is far beyond what we ever would be capable of.
In theory.
In theory.
Yeah. It's possible.
It's possible.
I would argue that the more likely scenario is, rather than we build that out in the physical realm, would be in a digital or in a simulation would make more sense.
Yeah.
If you want to do any of that, it would make more sense to do it in a simulation.
And you might be able to hook us up to those simulations so that we feel what it's like to send sonar signals or whatever, right? Like, so the potential for this thing is just, the sky is the limit, and even past that, the universe is the limit, because the only thing limiting.
Well, for AI, not for us.
Yeah.
Like if AI beings can go up to the sky, but not us.
Yeah,
You know?
we're limited by our physical body for sure, and that's one thing that I thought was really interesting in a book that I was reading where they describe life in three different stages. There's life 1.0, life 2.0, life 3.0, and so life 1.0 would be something that it cannot change its software or its hardware throughout its lifetime. The only way that it adapts is through the millions of years or whatever time it takes to evolve. So like that would be like a simple bacteria, for example, where from the beginning of its life to the end of its life, it can't perform different things. So its hardware is locked in, and its actions and its ability to learn and processes like the software, they don't change throughout its lifetime. So that's a life 1.0. It's pretty basic. You can't change hardware or software. Life 2.0 is what human beings are, where we're kind of limited by our physical body and our DNA and our genetics. But throughout our lifetime, we can upgrade our software. We can learn new things. We can get different mentalities. We can learn different languages. We can learn sports. And so from the beginning of your birth to the end of your life, you've actually drastically rewired and changed your software so many times over. And so that's life 2.0, but we still have the limitation where we cannot upgrade our hardware. So what this guy's saying is that eventually we're going to build life 3.0, where it's a computer system that can run a lot of the software upgrades that we can, but you can also upgrade its memory storage. You can upgrade its ability to compute things. You can upgrade how quickly it learns. And so you can upgrade its hardware and its software. And so the sky and the universe is the limit for something like that. For humans,
Literally.
we're limited. And in a lot of ways, like you never know what's going to happen. Like some people describe humans with a Neuralink, or humans with like prosthetics that assist us as life 2.1. So we're starting to like ease our way into life 3.0, where we can upgrade our hardware. Like
it's baby steps to 3.0.
Yeah.
So it's like a cyborg. It's a combination of all our body right now, but with you're connected to the internet or
like you might be able to
whatever.
get a replacement brain or a replacement heart or something, so that like now it functions better than your original heart did. So you're gradually.
Wait, can't we already do that today? Like a heart transplant?
That's what I mean. Today we're probably more like life 2.1 instead of 2.0 or 2.2 or whatever. Like we're, in a way, we are upgrading our hardware, finding ways to do it. But it'd be tough to like do a complete upgrade like you can do with a computer. You can just completely upgrade its memory. You can completely upgrade all its processing power.
Right.
So that's where things are going for sure with life 3.0.
It's an interesting topic also. A lot of people seem to be pursuing the longevity, like trying to figure out how to make ourselves live for forever.
Yeah.
You know, it seems very popular nowadays. And I'm not sure how I feel like that about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure they'll ever be able to figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever. I think they might be able to figure that out because
eventually.
I think they'll be able to figure out so many things that like a lot of our problems are just no longer there. In theory, like you could, for example, in psychology and neuroscience, solve the problem of meaning and purpose. You know, because people people typically when they don't feel a sense of meaning, they feel unhappy and they don't feel good. Well, if you were to be a neuroscientist and figure out exactly which cells are operating when someone is feeling that sense of lack of meaning, you could adjust that and rewire that and make it so the purpose problem that humans have is no longer an issue.
In theory, I would argue that if you want to develop purpose as a human, you have to figure it out through experience. And yeah, you can figure out the chemical composition of what happens when you're feeling a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could ever get the same real purpose from chemicals or from hacking your body as a real sense of purpose through developing it through experience, through having reasons to live, through doing something for your family, through, you know what I mean? It's just you can, take drugs to make you feel happier or feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But it's like, are you actually happier? You know what I mean? Like, are you actually like feeling, then how long will that last?
How
Like
long
you can
will it
hijack
last?
your
Yeah.
dopamine response system to do things.
Right.
You can take ADD pills, you could take Adderall to study better, but are you actually smarter? Are you actually more like concentrated in the long term? It's like you're hacking your body to do these things, but it also comes at cost usually.
Right.
So a lot of the drugs, you're able to do like different things with these drugs, but
Yeah.
you don't, but there's consequences to that too,
And
to playing around with your body and hacking it
yeah, and
through
a
chemicals.
lot of these things that I'm thinking of that are like sound too good to be true and they must have downsides is like far into the future, and it's more just like I don't see why you couldn't have a system that figures out how the brain functions so much that it doesn't have the negative side effects. So currently with our level of technology, we have medication that has uh, side effects and drugs that maybe give you a deep sense of purpose, a feeling of deep sense of purpose, but then it comes down and then you don't have it. But just from a pure like science perspective and improvement perspective, I think eventually you could get to the stage where the neuroscience makes so many advancements where they figure out exactly what causes depression. They figure out exactly what's causing anxiety, and they figure out how they can adjust or maybe supplement or add in new components to the brain to completely.
Sounds pretty Brave New Worldy though.
I
That's exactly
yeah.
like the concept of Brave New World is through drugs and through chemicals they're able to solve all like a bunch of these problems. I
Yeah.
think it like personally I think it sounds nice being able to solve depression or cure, sense of purpose through science and like understanding the brain.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost like a fool's errand to go into that with science where it's like you just got to simplify things and you develop these things through living life. Like our human body,
Yeah.
we're built through millions of years of evolution. We're designed a certain way. You don't need to, go super into the scientific theory to figure out a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of it's you just got to simplify things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like theoretically, you can cure depression through solving it in science, but I'd argue, could you ever do that? Like if depression is a state, like you feel sad, you feel hopeless, unfulfilled, you lack of energy. Well, what does that stem from? Maybe you have no purpose. Maybe,
Right.
you're not eating healthy. Maybe you're not exercising. Maybe your relationships are dwindling. Maybe you have no relationship with God or zero spirituality in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're not taking care of your spiritual whatever health.
Right.
So it's like I don't think there's a single solution or like to any of these problems, and also individually. So what might work for me, maybe like for myself, it's very important that I exercise to keep up with my health, my mental health, and also just like keep the energy up. But what may work for me might not work for someone else. Maybe
Right.
someone else, they get that energy, that passion from painting or doing yoga or going to church every day or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's thinking, and I hear this a lot happening. They're trying to solve depression and a lot of these things through science.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think it's great they're trying to solve these problems, but I think a lot of these they're not going to solve these problems through science. A lot of these you got to simplify things. Like the solutions are already here. It's the way we're living our lives.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
maybe we have too much technology, too much social media. Maybe more
Yeah.
technology isn't the solution. Maybe it's less technology,
I I get what you're saying, and I think people might honestly take, as technology becomes more and more advanced, some people might take more of like the Amish approach where they say
Yeah.
like I'm not gonna use this technology. But I do also think though that like as technology improves, it continually improves. I don't see why they wouldn't eventually be able to figure out a super deep understanding of how the brain works and what is leading to people being depressed and solving some of those solutions. Like I know right now there's a field in neuroscience called optogenetics where they figure out which cells exactly are being activated when people are feeling certain things like anxiety or depression, and they're getting a deeper level of, well, what exactly is causing this? And humans were built through evolution not to optimize for happiness and satisfaction in our life, but to optimize for replication and survival. Right. And so sometimes you have things that don't make you feel good, but they were built through evolution. And so I get what you're saying about how currently now, yeah, if you want to do your best and have everything on your side so that you're not depressed, you want to be sure that you're having social connections. You want to be sure that you're exercising, you're eating well. And trying to find something that's meaningful. But from like a AI perspective, if they were looking at it, they could potentially look at it of what is this weird meaning thing that humans seem to want to go for, and why do they feel so depressed when they don't have this meaning? Mm-hmm. And why is it that one person finds meaning from being a yoga instructor, where another person finds meaning from being a scientist? And they find the commonality between all of that and figure out what's going on within the circuitry of the brain that is leading people to feel a lack of meaning and feel depressed. And then they find a solution to fix that. So I think
give them meaning, like, oh, your meaning, you should be, you should be an actor.
To give them
what do you mean?
It could give them a feeling of meaning. So like when
but is that like if you take like, oh, I took my meaning pill today, like you sit and watch Netflix like every day, you have, you're not working, but you start taking meaning pills every day. Is that a solution to your meaning problem?
It is technically.
Technically, but I would argue it's not a sustainable. It's not a good solution. It's not, it's not sustainable. It's a Brave New World type solution.
It could be a Brave New World.
Take some meaning pills, like
improve
purpose. Like you need like no purpose in your life. Start taking your purpose pills. Like
I know it seems insane, and it seems like it could lead to a dystopia situation. But if you're just trying to be as optimistic as possible and saying that like, well, would that be totally bad if humans just had amazing conscious experiences and that was the entire existence, and somehow we were able to get ourselves to that point where it was purely positivity and great experiences?
Like it's pure bliss all the time.
It's pure bliss all the time.
Life's constant bliss.
And then some people might say, well, if life's constant bliss, people wouldn't have a purpose and they wouldn't have a meaning. Well, what if the AI technology also solves for that problem where you don't care about meaning and you don't care about purpose, you just have great conscious experiences. Right. And I'm not saying this is what I want. I'm just saying that I don't see why this couldn't be a possibility where you've solved for these problems.
And you're right that it is technically a solution.
It's technically a solution.
If it works, like technically it is.
Like, and are you going to be mad at the guy who's like, yo, I started taking my meaning pills and I have no problems with meaning anymore. And he's like the happiest guy,
Yeah. And I wouldn't be mad. Like, like I'm a live and let live type person. But I would give him my opinion. It's like, yeah, dude, is that real meaning?
But imagine from his perspective, how difficult that would be to take if you're like, yo, you should stop taking those pills. And he's like, yeah, but I feel like 100 times better, and I'm way more like I just
no. If it makes someone's life better, then who are you? Who is anyone to
Yeah, it's like
judge. But on a societal level, solving the meaning problem with meaning pills.
Well, not all of life on Earth has a meaning problem. You ask like an elephant, hey, like, are you sad that you don't have any meaning? They're like, no, I don't. So it's like I think it's
but for humans though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's possible to have an existence on Earth and not be concerned about meaning and purpose. Humans happen to be built a certain way. So
elephants have meaning and purpose. They're just not thinking about it. They're living it. They're in the moment. Like animals are in every moment, instinct
for sure.
And they have. You could argue there's meaning and purpose. They gotta. Like their family, they're raising kids, they're whatever.
I think they have goals and values and that directs them, but I don't know if I don't know what's going on in an elephant's mind. But
I know it's hard to play that game.
You know what I'm saying about like, I feel but
like they're not, elephants are pretty smart.
Elephants out of all animals, they're pretty.
Like one of the smartest on Earth is my understanding.
So, yeah.
They're old too. They've been around way longer than us.
Yeah.
So maybe if they're not smart, but they're wise, which is another important aspect I think to touch on. We talk a lot about artificial intelligence, and intelligence is very important, but where does wisdom fall into all this? Like just because something's smart doesn't mean it's wise.
I feel like wisdom wisdom, a lot of the time, what it ends up being is being able to understand the long-term consequences of what you're doing and see how this fits into the bigger picture and reality of, so like, is this decision going to lead to us getting rich, but it could cause other problems and lead to like the world
Like
as
it
a
could damage
whole.
the relationship, like the family relationship. Like maybe you get rich, but maybe it'll mess up relationships down the line or something.
Like you could be extremely intelligent and come up with a tech company that builds products, but in doing that, you're harvesting the raw materials in a third world country and making tons of people miserable. And so on the surface, would you say, oh, that's a really wise thing that person's doing? Or would you say, oh, that's a really smart thing that they've done? They figured out a way to build a tech company and do all that stuff. And it might not be one or the other, but I'm just saying wisdom might be more of the, hey, we're trying to consider the big picture and have everybody and have the experiences of all as positive and optimized as possible.
Right. No, I like that definition.
Including animals and including just everything that's
it's like all encompassing. Yeah, I mean, when I think of wisdom, I think of mostly you're putting together the past. So all the past experiences and you're planning based off all those experiences for the future. So yeah, it might be smart to do this thing right now. You might gain.
Yeah.
But like you say, like, will it have negative impact down the line? And just because something's smart doesn't mean it's wise.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And some people might argue that, well, wisdom, it blossoms out of intelligence.
Or lack of intelligence, I would argue.
It like
for me, a lot of the wisdom I've gained is through making mistakes. You don't gain wisdom through being smart, like right all the time.
Yeah. But in the mistake, it might be the thing that led you to the wisdom is actually the intelligence that you were able to learn from the mistake. So like if something is just making mistakes and never learning,
right, then there's no wisdom involved.
Then you don't get the wisdom. So like
that's called craziness. That's Einstein's definition is craziness. I'm
doing the same thing and whatever
expecting different results.
Yeah. But yeah, we basically want to build an AI that has wisdom. And how do we do that when we don't agree? There's different like beliefs around the world. There's all sorts of different religions and nobody's on the same page. And so we're now trying to build something that's going to be more powerful than all of us. And it's going to have a belief system, but it might not be aligned with what Canada wants. It might not be aligned with what US wants. And when the AI gets so powerful that it's potentially directing the whole world, maybe you have more of like a globalist society, which people get scared of, especially like now. But I just like, if AI is the all powerful thing,
right?
Why would it be?
So let's play this out. Like worst case scenario, AI is boom. It's next level intelligent. It's at the top. It's calling the shots.
Yeah.
It's, do you think it would almost be like a totalitarian sort of entity? So it's without violence, but it's ruling everything.
It could be like, like a dictatorship where it makes all the calls and
and what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Yeah,
like it's everywhere. It controls a lot of things. But that's like a doomsday worst case scenario. But well, in theory, say it got there, it's at the top. It's that level intelligent. Mm-hmm. How would you ever stop it? There's no off switch. Like, oh shit, like we fucked up. We, like turn Bart off. Like, Bart's on the loose. He's out on like where he's in the internet,
Yeah. Well, for one, I really hope that this super intelligent AI we name Bart.
Like Bart Simpson.
Yeah.
Simpson. Yeah.
Maybe the AI is just a massive troll. Like, how like Elon Musk is on the internet. He's like one of the most genius guys with running some powerful companies, and he's just sending funny memes. Like, it's just like, what if AI just like, it loves just sending memes and trolling people.
I heard there's going to be, within the next 2 years, AI podcasters. It's going to be pretty popular.
Yeah. So like,
it's possible.
I honestly think as AI gets better, we might have to start restructuring what gives humanity value and purpose. Because if it gets to the point where there's AI podcasts that can publish 100 podcasts an hour and they can take my voice and use better ideas, and they take my job and they can do better stuff, we're gonna have to just live a life under a completely
But
different paradigm.
Who's gonna listen to that podcast compared to Ollie Lewis podcast? Like me, I'd never listen to an AI podcast over a human podcast.
What if you can't differentiate the two and you don't even know which one's my podcast? Like with the deep fakes.
I feel like I would know right away.
Well, for now, you would know with the deepfake technology and stuff.
Actually, they're pretty good. I've heard conversations between Steve Jobs and another guy.
Yeah.
And it sounded like legit.
Yeah.
The voices, what they were talking about.
They have podcasts of like Joe Rogan talking to whatever guest, and it tricks you at first. You're like, oh wait, no, this never happened.
Yeah.
He never talked to that guy. But like, so what if they get that and they have any podcaster, they have me talking to so and so, and you're watching too, and I tell you, oh no, that one was actually me and that one was not. But before I tell you that, you're like, honestly, I can't even tell that they got your movements and your voice exactly perfect.
Right.
And they even like designed the studio so it looks exactly like your studio. So what happens then when just nothing is special and nobody's useful?
I don't know.
And so we're just existing.
And that's coming also. I heard some people talking about they're excited about when they'll be able to replace their digital selves with an AI version of themselves.
Yeah.
So basically say I have an AI version of myself. I train it on all my data. And now I use that AI as a representative of me in the virtual world. So go out, send emails, have conversations, go, do post statuses. So I don't have to be on Facebook, email, doing anything. It could go have conversations with, say, your AI.
Right.
So you have your AI representative doing all the work you don't want to be doing in the digital world. So our AIs could be having conversations, but maybe we're not even talking to each other. But in theory...
Right. Our AIs are talking shit about us behind our back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they must be, yeah.
Yeah.
But like that worries me, but also I kind of find that cool, the possibility, because right now when you think about all the tasks or the amount of people you would like to talk to but just don't have the time to, this is like, in theory, it'd be a good way to have more relationships, and I'd only treat the ones in person seriously. So like my best friends, my family, I would have
right.
real dialogue, but the people I'm not actually talking with, but your digital avatar can now be you to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? In theory.
Yeah, like you can train your digital avatar to be like, I want you to go into all these business meetings at the same time while I'm going to be watching TV, and like it just does stuff for you.
I can't wait for that. Yeah.
But even like, it's crazy, but you mentioned like, I'm going to focus on only the one that is actually right in front of me.
Yeah.
What if it gets to the point where you don't even know which one's right in front of you with like the simulations and virtual reality, and like virtual reality is indistinguishable from actual reality. And some people say we're in a simulation right now.
That's only if you're wearing glasses, no? Like
For
if
now.
you're wearing the...
But like, how when we dream, we are basically having a conscious experience of something and it feels like it's reality, but it's actually just a simulation that your brain is creating inside of you. Well,
this is all technically a chemical simulation, you could argue.
Yeah, like what if you get implanted with a Neuralink and it's
this realistic?
It's this realistic.
That would be nuts.
Just like how a dream is this realistic. And it's just running simulations in your mind, and you're like, this is the real one. This is what I want to focus on. And honestly, you probably wouldn't even have the choice. It would you're just given experiences, and
yeah, you just wake up in the world. How would you know if it's real or not?
How would you know if it's real or not? Because
that's scary. Yeah.
Like and a lot of those guys like Elon Musk and stuff, they're saying that we currently are in a simulation because mathematically things just progress and eventually get to the point where virtual reality is this realistic.
It's
and
a
why not now?
50% chance, I think they say.
Yeah, it could be either one. So yeah, I mean,
personally, I don't think we're in a simulation, but I understand it's a possibility.
Yeah.
You think we're in a simulation?
I don't know. And to me, it doesn't even matter if we are, because it doesn't change anything.
Right.
If you tell me
why think about it? Yeah.
Then I just be okay, well, I'm still going to do what I do. If you say we're not.
Yeah, what are you going to change? Like, well, how is your life going to differ if it's this massive simulation conspiracy or not?
Yeah, it's like, who knows?
What are you going to do about it?
And like some of this stuff is just like everything's just so crazy. It's like, why not just do certain things? Like today,
know,
like
dude.
honestly with the suits, I'm like, it's kind of cheesy, but I'm like, why not? We'll just wear suits. Like
I know.
the world is going to get even more and more complicated. And it's just like what matters and what doesn't matter. And it's just like, if you feel like doing something, just do it.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like doing something, then don't do it. And it's just like, yeah. I mean, that was my motivational speech for the day. Just like a master. If you feel like doing it, then do it. If you don't, but anyway, yeah. Who knows what's going on? Simulation, not simulation. But all we know is that every single day, people are day and night working on artificial intelligence. And right now, we have an opportunity to have a conversation as a society about where is this going to go? Where do we want it to go? And I think
it's important that we as a society talk about it too.
Yeah, because
like you say with that cliff analogy, a lot of these things, they seem like, oh, that's super nice. Like the view's so great.
Yeah.
But once you're on the edge of the cliff, there's no turning back. So you got to think about these things that we're implementing before we just throw them out there in the world, you know?
And a lot of the time being cynical and pessimistic about it doesn't help the outcome very much. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I want to maybe, if we can, like for like the final segments of the podcast, let's try to be as like optimistic as possible and also think about the steps that need to be taken to make sure that it's the best case scenarios, and also what we need to consider in order to make this AI as safe as possible, given what we know. Obviously, we're not like computer scientists or anything like that, but we have a perspective on the economy and psychology.
I've got a degree in computer science also.
Yeah, my bad. I should. You are a computer science actually.
Oh, I don't work in it. I just have a degree in it. Yeah.
Because ChatGPT.
Yeah. I have worst timing to get a degree in computer science,
which is crazy because like looking back on it, people, you remember the trolls on Twitter being like, learn to code when people are complaining about their jobs.
Yeah.
All those trolls now are like, okay, learn to code. That really worked out well.
The first jobs to go. It's computer programming.
Yeah.
It's a lot of those like the intellectual whatever jobs.
Yeah, like super highly analytical, like just like
mathematical.
Step by step. Yeah. So that got taken. But anyway, I figure if we don't have a positive outlook on this, you're less likely to achieve a positive outcome.
Right.
Just like in any goal that you want to achieve, like I was saying the other day, like if you and I have a business and we're saying, honestly, this is my vision, this is the positive vision for it. We want to take steps and try to figure out how we can get to that positive vision.
You see the profit, you're able to visualize it. It's going to be successful. It's going to be this.
Yeah, you're considering, okay, well, this is what I want and what would lead to that thing that I want. And that's a positive vision. But if you and I are thinking, hey, we should start a business, and honestly, it's going to be horrible.
90% don't work out.
90% don't work out.
The economy is shit, dude.
It's going to be such a difficult problem to solve. Like, there's no way, man. Like,
barely have enough money saved up. It's going to be
we're done for. Like, there's no shot. Let's just like,
what chances would you have?
Let's give up. It's going to be too hard. Obviously, that is going to lead to a worse outcome than if you and I are being positive about it and we're really thinking about what do we want and why do we want that and how could we get that? Why would it be good for society?
Because you can be optimistic and positive, but still take into account, some bad case scenarios. You're not making naive or stupid decisions.
Oh yeah.
You're being optimistic, but you're aware of the potential consequences.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You need to be optimistic.
It's being a rational optimist. So you're not being delusional and just trying to like fantasize about these utopian societies and thinking that like this will happen and nothing bad could ever happen. We're being rational optimists and trying to think, okay, well, this is what we want. Optimistically, we believe we could get there, but what are the issues we're going to run into? And I think we talked about a lot of them, but like on the education side, that's one we haven't brought up yet. How do you think AI is going to affect education, and like what things do you think, if we're trying to build an education system, what do we want to be looking out for?
Right. Well, I was reading an article today and it was talking about AI in education, and it's saying on the positive aspect that in the future, students are all going to have their own AI tutor, sort of like an AI assistant. So AI is going to be teaching kids individually, which, it's interesting. If you have like right now there's a say a classroom of 30, 40 kids, and there's one teacher, and how, like, do these kids, how much one-on-one, how much,
How much is the class being optimized for that kid's learning style and his
Right.
level? Whereas the AI will be able to individually be like, well, this kid tends to learn best visually, or when he does a lot of the writing himself, or whatever it is. And so we're going to give him those exercises, and we're going to very, very
unique
customize his...
to the kids so that they're perhaps enjoying what they're learning, or,
Yeah.
you know?
The thing with that is like, are the kids, is a big problem with that, the fact that people tend to learn better from other people, like
Right.
having a teacher giving like compassion and human connection as they're teaching versus a computer screen optimizing for what's best for you. So that might be a limitation to it, that maybe 50 years down the line they come up with like a legit robot that educates people. Another thing I worry about in the education system is, well, what's the purpose of learning about a lot of these things
That's a good point.
when
Then ChatGPT can do all those things.
when
Like,
ChatGPT, yeah.
what's the point of learning arithmetic or geometry or
Yeah,
basic
memorizing
math,
geography and any
biology?
like fact memorization. A lot of it just, you'll easily just be able to ask ChatGPT. And my hope is that what that allows human beings to do is it kind of frees up part of our bandwidth so that we no longer have to spend time doing things that are mundane and our AI assistant can just do for us. And that allows us to spend more of our energy and focus and spend time doing other things like
Painting.
painting. But
You
then,
hear that a lot.
like painting,
Yeah.
then the AI just paints better than you, and it's like, okay, well, or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
honestly, like as AI gets better, it's kind of sad because the amount of things that I'm thinking of, well, maybe we can spend time doing this instead. It's like, well, AI will just do that better, but maybe it'll at the final thing that we will do that is unique to human beings, and maybe eventually even that gets taken away. But just having conscious connections with other human beings and being a human is literally the last unique thing that we are able to do. And so when math is taken care of by ChatGPT, when art is taken care of by ChatGPT, we just do whatever we want. If we want to do math, we can. If we want to do art, we
Right.
can. If we want to do stats, we can. We can
Just
do
because AI
anything.
or ChatGPT does things better than we do doesn't mean you don't have to still do it. You could still find meaning and purpose doing these things.
You could,
A
yeah.
lot of people, I think, will find meaning and purpose still doing art, still pursuing maths, or still, studying astronomy, doing physics, doing whatever it is.
You might not have a job in it because AI is better than you and cheaper than you,
Right.
but it could get to the point where you don't have to hustle and grind so hard to get a job because there's so much abundance and energy and resources created in society, so that you just live more leisurely and do what you want to do. You study what you want to study. You hang out with the people you want to hang out. You just do what you want. And that could be a scenario where society ends up. Food is so cheap and AI can make it easier and everything's just taken care of.
Say in the next 2-3 years though, or say in like 5 years, boom,
Yeah.
a lot of jobs are gone.
Yeah.
I could see a lot of people, myself included, you just take the job away. It's not, you can paint this, oh, it's now they can do whatever they want, but
Oh yeah.
it's a lot of people, you take their jobs away, what, like, a lot of it's a lot more complicated than just like, they
yeah.
can paint, now they can do whatever they want, but
People
like,
might not know what
do
to
you
with
do for
themselves.
8 hours a day?
Yeah,
know?
our job satisfies a lot
And
of
if you
time
don't
our-
have the
our
money to
boredom.
travel, if you don't have the money to
Well,
pursue these
travel
niches.
could get so cheap because over time, air travel has gotten cheaper and cheaper as technology gets better. So as that gets better, it might be easy to travel. Anyone can travel.
hopefully,
Hopefully.
or maybe you won't need to because you'll just go the metaverse goggles.
Exactly.
You'll just-
Yeah. But like, yeah, you just join Mark Zuckerberg in the metaverse.
Yeah, Apple Vision Pro, like the version, whatever the next version 10.
Yeah.
Have you seen that commercial, the Apple Vision
Apple
Pros?
Vision? Yeah, it's
they're
so wild.
They're pretty cool. Like
For now, they're a bit too bulky and clunky for that to be widespread. I feel like
I could see it once it's just the glasses version.
if it's a sleek
Everyone's
little
gonna be wearing
glasses,
those.
and or maybe they figured out how to literally do contacts or something.
You think that's gonna replace cell phones? I think so.
If you can do contacts, because the thing is like
Contact lenses.
yeah, contact lenses.
Oh.
Well, I'm
You'd
just
want
saying
the
like,
tech on your eye.
well, I wear contacts, and like, what if it's as thin and you don't feel it at all, just like the contact lenses I'm wearing right now?
Right.
Would you rather wear bulky glasses to get the same function, or contacts that you don't feel?
Wouldn't it make
So-
more sense as opposed to building in contacts just a chip or an implant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'd be even another level. So
Yeah. I know a lot of people would be worried to hear that.
yeah.
Like the chip aspect.
Some people think they already have been like chipped at some point, and
Yeah.
but like
Who knows at this point?
But but yeah, back on like the thing you're just talking about, jobs, they give more than just the job itself. Yeah, they satisfy our boredom. They a lot of time encourage us to go to a place that you have social connections.
The community aspect.
They give you a sense of usefulness and importance, which is really for now something that humans, the brain, just you need something useful that to be doing, otherwise you feel kind of
useless.
depressed.
Yeah.
But
And a lot of depression, apparently, it comes from feeling useless or feeling like you're not contributing.
but
I have a sense of purpose. I feel like
if we're being optimistic about losing all jobs and trying to be open-minded, I think
right.
there could be solutions where, because a lot of people right now would say, I would love to not have to work, because some people love their jobs, some people hate their jobs. It's not a uniform thing. And the people that hate their jobs that love to travel, and they love to play sports, and they love to like
Now,
go to
spend
community.
way more time with family.
Yeah. And to them, work is just taking away from their family and friends, and
That's a good point.
So maybe in that situation, it would be fine. But the way a lot of people's lives are currently structured, that if they like retire, for example, they might not know what to do with themselves, and they don't feel like they could fill all 16 hours of being awake with something nice.
Of being awake, of being alive,
Of being alive. So like that
gotta be awake 16 hours every day. Oh my god.
Well,
Yeah.
For people who are super depressed, it honestly is like that. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
they're like, I don't want to be
16
awake.
waking hours.
They want to be sleeping.
Yeah.
But so hopefully, like, as AI takes our jobs, I think what's going to happen is that in the beginning, it'll be jobs are getting taken and society as a whole isn't acting on it. And so now there's a lot of people unemployed, and those unemployed people are now just competing for the jobs that are still left. As the amount of jobs continues to shrink, the competition for those jobs increases. And so it's just a crazy competitive market of people trying to get those last jobs. And then eventually governments and society as a whole are going to have to say like, okay, we got to implement something here where
UBI.
there's got to be universal basic income. There's got to be something, because you're going to have people riding on the streets that are all unemployed and aren't making any money. And it's not any fault of their own. It's just because AI has taken everything.
There's going to be some positives from UBI.
Oh yeah.
But there'll also be some negatives, I imagine.
In a society that we have now where people's, if they get everything handed to them, they lose motivation, and in a lot of ways they get depressed. Like there's countless examples of people who they didn't create the wealth that they have for themselves, and they don't feel satisfied.
Right.
They don't feel happy about it. They feel depressed. And so if you just hand people stuff, they might lose the motivation, and they might become depressed, and they don't feel a sense of importance, and they
might not appreciate it as much too.
Yeah.
Say you're born with $10 million in the bank.
So that's why you
compared to born with nothing, you would have much more, I feel like, appreciation for the money that you earn over time.
That's why you're going to have to give them the UBI, and along with that UBI, you give them the meaning and the appreciation pill.
The meaning pill.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah.
And so now they're just satisfied across the board.
Yeah.
But like
those purpose pills are going to be,
those will be in high demand.
Yeah.
But like it's crazy to talk about, and like it could lead to some insane dystopia scenario, but these are things that you actually are going to have to come up with solutions for, because it's likely that AI is going to take a lot of jobs,
especially in the education sector too.
Especially
that's a big point you just brought up, is the way the curriculum or the education is built right now.
Yeah,
they're training students for
jobs that won't exist,
accounting. Yeah.
So we're honestly gonna have to like flip the education system on its head, and I think there's some European countries that, like, for example, in elementary school, most of the time the kids spend at recess, and they're not like doing math in grade 2 for 2 hours a day. They're just like
in Europe.
I think in like Finland or something, there's like other countries, but
Yeah,
like,
it sounds like something Finland would do.
yeah,
Yeah.
Finland loves recess.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like, why make the kid study
Calculus.
calculus when there's going to be no jobs that ever use that skill?
I think the most important thing in the education system is not going to be teaching kids what to think. It's going to be thinking for themselves
Yeah.
and how to think and how to question.
Like,
Especially in an age where, you know, with this AI, there might be deep fakes or there's all these algorithms and there's all these external forces constantly kind of trying to control, compete for our attention, manipulate us, propagandize, or whatever it is. There's so many more external sources for children growing up compared to us or our previous generation that in the education system, one of the most important things to teach is how to think for yourself
Right.
and be critical and be aware. Maybe how to use these tools
Yeah.
is not to train them in math or calculus, but how to use ChatGPT to solve astronomical problems. So maybe
Yeah.
they could do next level like math, you know, grade 12 or university level math earlier. They're not actually doing the math. They're just prompting ChatGPT to do the math. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, it's different forms of doing things where you don't need to think. You just need to be creative how you prompt the AI or how you use the tools at your disposal.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean?
Especially if like the AI is at a stage where it can't prompt itself, then you have. But even in the education system, what might become the most valuable things is teaching kids and people things that fall under like philosophy and wisdom and meditation and emotional intelligence and
History.
history or like psychology and satisfying the things that are the absolute last things that are gonna get that AI will be able to do better than
Can
us,
be
which is going to be
replaced.
like human connections and the emotional connections that we have and our consciousness and our just general wisdom and understanding of the world in general. Because for now, we have a better general understanding of the world and the universe than the AI does, but maybe eventually it's better than us at that. But I think all in all, in terms of education, if someone was going into university or college, like, would you agree that a good thing to promote them towards is do the thing that AI is likely to achieve last? So go into the fields that AI is the least likely to take over, like whether it's, like we said, physiotherapy or doing handyman work, renovations.
Right. The trades. I would say the trades.
Yeah.
Like-
and certain trades might get taken, especially as like prefabrication becomes more popular. Like if you just build a prefabricated house or
Right.
you build.
Even that's tricky though. Like, how are you going to build, like, you can in theory 3D print houses,
Yeah.
but the actual, like, doing it, rubber hits the road, getting you need a 3D printer like the size of a building, first of all.
Yeah. So
Like, it's like,
it's maybe out there.
and
for
the little
sure.
details, like if you want to do this wall, like the plumbing, the electricals,
Yeah.
you know,
But like, just like how like a Roomba can go around the floor and pick up all the dirt, maybe you can get an AI bot that goes around and paints and it picks up like.
oh yeah, a painting bot, that'd be
So
pretty
like,
cool.
I feel like nothing is off the table if you go far enough in the future and you dream wild enough. Almost all jobs could eventually get taken away. But I do
Yeah.
agree though that trades are probably some of the last. Like, how are you
Right.
going to get an electrician trade? A lot of time they open up the panel board and there's like all sorts of weird stuff. The building was built
And it's
50 years
physical.
ago.
You have to be there in person.
You have to be there in person.
Like even your job right now, you have to be there in person.
Yeah, like,
Like-
a lot of it I could do remotely, but the part that I can't do remotely is like training and working with my coworkers. It's I could on Zoom calls, but it's not the same. Like
Yeah.
it's much better being there and being with people. The efficiency is better, and I think a lot of tech companies and other companies are realizing that when they're starting to call people back to work.
Yeah.
It depends on the business and it depends on the work you do. Some people are more efficient at home, some people are not. I feel like from a team collaboration perspective, if that's a really important thing with your business, it's hard to do it better remotely, I think. Like if you and I are running a business and you and I meet on FaceTime once a week, or you and I sit down here and we're talking together, I personally like it better when we're sitting in the same room versus on FaceTime.
Yeah.
Some people might not care.
You have much more of a better connection. You can, bounce ideas off each other much better in person.
Yeah.
Plus, there's a human aspect, just like outside of business, you're able to connect to, okay, how was your weekend? You can do that on Zoom, but if you're just getting the face, you're not getting the whole body, you're not getting like every social cue. It's laggy. Sometimes it glitches.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Like,
it's not the same. It satisfies something deep within humanity that we crave. Like, if you and I were building a business, it's nicer to think about like, we're both working together. We're both considering each other's
it's exciting doing it in
emotions.
person.
And like, yeah, you see the excitement in each other's eyes and you're both trying to build it. But yeah, I also worry about like you said, if you're doing all these technologies and AI, you might be losing out on certain things. Like you're missing some of the social cues. And so now if you have an AI educator, you might be losing out on things like social cues, and you also might be, because you don't have to learn mathematics as well, and you don't have to learn history and geography as well. Those parts of your brain that are good at that might start to diminish, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And like an example of this is cab drivers that have to be very familiar with the city, especially before Google Maps came into play.
Right.
They were analyzed, and actually the part of the brain that's used for directions and understanding where you are in relation to the world was more developed in taxi drivers, because they have to use it on a daily basis. So what happens when you stop having to memorize things, you stop having to figure out your direction, you stop having to and the brain is structured in so many ways where like certain parts are good for certain things, and yeah, it all communicates, but there might be certain parts that start to like just shrink because we don't have a use for it. But
even say like empathy, say you have a thing that's writing emails for you, like you have AI doing a bunch of tasks, and you're not having any of this connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're telling it like, oh, just be nice, like do emails nicely. But you're never actually doing it, like actually yourself. When you lose that sort of muscle,
you might.
You know what I mean?
You might.
Even just like the empathy muscle, or the like outside of just the communication one, or direction. If you're using Google Maps to do directions all the time, you won't have that sense of direction.
Well,
say I have like a digital avatar that's talking to you instead of me talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't we lose that sort of ability, like definitely to connect and communicate, but even like empathy, or the way, if we're talking to AI and we're not being empathetic towards AI, like do this for me, like get this tool, get this done for me, like I need this email sent, like do the banking for me, and you're commanding it, you have no like feelings towards AI. Will that spill over into like say how I treat you? Like if I'm not treating the AI properly, and I've heard this argument made by like a few CEOs, they talk about they really believe in being empathetic towards AI, how it's important to treat AI nicely. So she was saying every time she prompts ChatGPT, she says, please, can you do this? And thank you. And being polite to it. And I can see the value in doing that in terms of like maintaining your politeness and empathetic towards humans.
Yeah, if it's good for maintaining the politeness towards humans, the only reason ChatGPT would care about that at all is if it was programmed to really value when people say please and thank you.
Right.
But even then, it might not care about it on an emotional level like how we care about things. Like it might just be like it's harder for it to process, or it slows it down. It's less efficient. You know what I mean? Like unless it's as complicatedly configured as a human body and brain are, and it has an emotional system, it might not care about things like that at all. Like it doesn't feel angry or frustrated.
Why would it feel emotions?
Why would it? Unless you designed it to be like that, which you could. But why would you? It depends why you want the AI at all.
Another one of my concerns lies in humanizing these robots and AI systems. You see a lot of them, they'll have human faces, human expressions. So they're very human-like, right?
Yeah.
But like we said, it's important to note they don't feel emotions. They don't care about our feelings. They don't love us. They
It's
don't
like
have any feelings towards us.
Ex Machina.
But when you see all these AI avatars and they look like humans,
yeah.
so especially for children, even for us as adults, it pulls us like on our strings. So we're inclined to treat it nicely. If it has a human face, you're not just gonna be like a dick to it or
right.
like treat it badly. You're kind of you feel like being nice to it. You don't want to hurt its feelings almost. You humanize it.
Right.
But it's not human. It doesn't care about our feelings. It doesn't love us.
Yeah.
So especially for children, like children seeing these human, AI avatars,
they're gonna
I
get
feel
tricked.
like
They could get manipulated.
it's
and
super
tricked way
manipulative.
easier because
I find.
we even are gonna have a difficult time figuring out. Well, is this a genuine
Person.
Is this a genuine person with genuine intentions, or is it an AI that is trying to manipulate me? And
Do you think that's coming where we don't know? We won't know if what we see, like the videos online, whether it's real or fake?
so we already
These
kind of
deep
don't.
fakes.
If you see a deep fake, sometimes it takes me a second glance where I'm like, there's no way Elon Musk said that. And it's like,
Right.
that's got to be a deep fake. But some people it tricks. Like I know it tricks people. Like even like, I don't know if like my parents watch something and they're like, did you see that so-and-so said that? It's like, oh, that was fake. That's not. So like there's all these scams online and people fall for them all the time. They think they're totally real, but they're fake. And it's becoming harder and harder to distinguish what's real and what's fake. So security is another big concern with AI, especially the fact that as things become AI is more implemented into everything, then hacking becomes a big concern. And so like a Tesla self-driving car, for example, what if people find a way to hack into that? Because now it's not a human deciding whether you go left or right. It's the self-driving car.
Software.
You hack into it and say, drive the car off the bridge. And so hackers could cause some serious trouble in a lot of fronts. Whether it's like, even they could hack into like a manufacturing facility and be like, combine that substance with that and create a huge explosion. And it could be literally trolls. It could be whoever that want to be hacking. But the more you add computers into everything, the more you now have to worry about those computers being hacked.
Right. That's a good point.
And then military is a big one too. Like, especially as computers get more and more capable and our technology gets stronger and it's easier to build these things cheaply, you could have military weapons that are so powerful, but they cost the price of an iPhone. And so now,
If it's just software, like a zip file, like
even if it's not software, maybe potentially because of the energy and the resources, you could have a drone that shoots little missiles, and it costs the price of a bananas.
But where would you buy that though? You know what I mean? It would be like illegal. Well, like in theory on the black market, but
on the black market,
they wouldn't be like at Walmart. You know what I mean?
Well, maybe they would.
Yeah.
Because a lot of dangerous weapons are at Walmart in the States, at least.
Oh yeah.
So, but
no shooting drones yet though. No AI like military drones yet.
Yeah, and so right now we're just counting on the AI developers. Take it easy, boys. Like Sam Altman, don't do that. Don't do the shooting drones.
Didn't he sign the paper also?
Oh, did he?
Sam Altman.
He signed it, but then he just kept going.
Yeah, bro.
I don't know. But yeah, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, company responsible for ChatGPT, just in case people are like, who's that?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, military, education, jobs, psychology,
any
other fields?
Else?
Yeah. I mean,
when you think about it, there's literally nothing it's not going to touch on though. And that's an important thing to note. Kind of similar to the internet.
Yeah.
When you think like, what was it, 20, 30 years ago when there was no internet,
right.
The world was completely different than it was today. Look how internet and then social media, look how it shaped our world, how we interact. Like you go on a bus load full of people today and everyone's, looking at their phones and doing this. 30 years ago, you walk on a bus and everyone's staring at this like black object.
Yeah.
It's strange, like human behavior. It's like, what are all these people doing?
For sure.
Everyone's like obsessed with this little black box thing.
I know.
It's changing the way we act, we interact.
The computer is slowly getting integrated into us. Right now, it's just, it's not in us, but it's in our hand and it's basically connected. And so
would you say we're cyborgs? Would you say we're cyborgs in a way right now?
In a way, yeah.
This makes us cyborgs.
This thing is always in our hand and we use it as a tool.
Do you ever have the feeling like, oh, you lost your phone? You feel kind of like Not
Yeah,
like
you
naked,
lost
but you feel like a
your
part of
soul.
you is missing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
Like,
yeah, I mean, for me, I feel that just because it's like valuable, and I'm like, oh fuck, I don't want to lose my phone. Just like if I like pat my pocket and my keys aren't there, I'm like, oh
do you
shit.
feel like it's an extension of yourself a little bit? I
I don't
find that a
feel.
little bit. Like, I feel like I've gotten more addicted to my phone in the last 2-3 years.
I think what could be like something that you want to look out, especially if you're someone posting on social media a lot of time, is building your persona and identity is not you in the real world. It's you on the phone, on the social media platform.
Right.
And I even get worried about that sometimes, like after I post a clip of something and you start to be like, oh, part of my self-esteem and part of my value is based on the
Right.
performance and quality
Your
of
digital
this.
identity, your brand, the amount of followers, the amount of likes, the amount of...
Exactly. So you got to
Yeah.
like be sure to try to disconnect yourself from that. And
That's a good point.
And it's like, this isn't who I am as a person. This isn't where my value and self-esteem comes from. But it's hard not to get sucked into that trap, because for so many people, it's a tasty reward to get the likes and the comments.
And more so, it's becoming, I find, more and more valuable. Like, or
Yeah.
not valuable, but it's, you can argue that digital life is like intersecting with regular life, where,
Right.
you know, regular life's like this and digital life wasn't that important, but they're kind of, digital life is catching up, where a lot of people, you could say like the younger generation, even our generation, they value a lot more the digital life than the real one. Or a lot of
Right.
young people growing up, they have a lot of their life experience. It's
Yeah.
happening in the digital world, on Discord, on, you know, video games. We haven't even touched video games, but that's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the video games. It's like, you don't think about it, but it's huge. Like it's exploding the industry.
If
Like
you talk,
it's bigger than Hollywood, cinema, sports combined.
getting so realistic. Like the new Grand Theft Auto I hear is going to be like just basically as realistic as human life. It's
No
going to come out
way.
like next year or the year after.
And
so-
apparently, so cash, if you make money in the game, you're able to transfer it to for money in real life.
Really?
So already they're connecting real life money to the game.
That's what-
So that's another connection. That's like a huge thing.
That's what
to
Mark
have.
Zuckerberg was trying with the metaverse, right? Like he was going to be
Right.
like, why wouldn't you want to spend money buying shirts in the metaverse? And it kind of flopped, to be honest. Like, I don't know if it's going to work that well.
No,
At least,
I think it will one day.
yeah.
People will be willing to spend more money on their digital avatar
Right.
than their...
Well, a lot of people
you know.
are currently doing that in certain games like Fortnite, where they spend like hundreds of dollars trying to upgrade their Fortnite
Right.
outfit instead of buying clothes for themselves to go outside, because
Yeah.
they spend more time inside playing video games than they do outside.
Because if they have
So-
the sick skin in the game and all their friends, they say,
Yeah.
oh, dude, this guy has the...
And if you ask some of these kids,
you know?
like, how do you, like, they're like, yeah, all my friends are in this Fortnite lobby. And you're like, oh, how do you know them all? And they're like, oh, I never met them, but so-and-so is from California, so-and-so is from Texas. And like, these are my good friends. And so their community is online.
Right.
And so in that case, when they're spending more money online than they are outside at Winners or whatever store, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not complete. It shouldn't be completely confusing, because it's like, well, actually a lot of their meaning, their connections, and their community is online.
Yeah.
And it's
Like
like
you
weird.
can-
Is it not potentially has its like risks and stuff? Maybe.
Yeah, and it's easy to judge, but if they're like all their best life experiences, they're having it, you know, in video game rooms or whatever.
yeah.
Like, you know, who's anyone to judge if that's,
yeah.
you know, their form of purpose or their or sense of community. At least they have a community.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
anytime new technology and new ways of living come about, there's always going to be people that are like, well, that's not right. When I
Yeah,
grew
yeah.
up, I walked 5 kilometers to school. And it's like, okay, well, we don't do that anymore. And it doesn't mean that this new way
It's the back
is-
in my day. Like, you should have seen how we got to school in my day.
Yeah, and then
Walk 8
whatever they
kilometers.
did back in their day is the right and only way to live a life. It's like time continually passes and new technology arises, and there's going to be new ways of doing things. And if so-and-so is experiencing what they feel is a great life doing X, but another person's doing a completely different thing, I don't know. I take more of like the libertarian perspective of like, do what you want, I do, obviously, like we've been talking about this whole podcast, I get that what they want impacts other people. So you can't just always do what you want because it's going to impact other people in the rest of society. But
Right.
in a lot of cases, it doesn't necessarily impact the rest of society. And if, especially with how complicated and advanced the technology is going to get, there's going to be ways of having a good experience and a good life that are just a complete 180 from other things.
So one thing that would impact, I think, the rest of us though, is that if a big group of people start valuing the digital world much more than the real world, I'm feeling that's going to impact us all. So yeah, like I'm the live and let live. You're having a time of your life on, a digital world, but also I think advising people or having people understand, or I think it's debatable. It's like, yeah, that's a form of reality, but isn't there like, is that real life? If you're building connections with, say, like an AI chatbot, if your boyfriend or girlfriend is an AI chatbot, like, is that a real relationship? I would say no. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if a buddy of mine had a relationship or a friendship with an AI chatbot, live and let live. But it's like, I would give them my opinion. I think it's important that they at least understand like other people's perspective, that like, maybe they're like, they have a sense of happiness or fulfillment by chatting with this like buddy bot or whatever, buddy bot 2.0. It's like, but is that a real relationship? Cause it's on the back end, just computer programmers like coding it, the reality of it. It's like, that's not a real relationship, is it?
It's like, I feel like it's important to have the wisdom to understand where could this potentially lead. Like, even if you're a government and everybody's moving towards living in their digital world, and you're able to foresee that if that happens, then there could be huge catastrophes and a lot of big problems. So then you try to change society, and society lives in a different way. But for a lot of people, it's not going to be clear. Nobody's amazing at predicting outcomes, and you don't know what's going to happen. But in like today's day and age, for sure, like if your friend is saying like, I'm just going to spend 16 hours a day online and I'm going to like get married to my computer. It's like, there's other ways to live a life that could be, I feel like a lot of time in general with life, you could be satisfied with certain things, but until you've experienced a wider range of things, you're somewhat limited in your perspective of what possibly could be there. Like someone might be there with their computer girlfriend and be thinking like, this is pretty solid, but they've never
been with a girl or never had a real relationship with a girl.
Yeah. And they've never experienced those things. And
like the human touch or the connection, the reality of a relationship.
And it's like, at least the way we're built right now, a lot of the time, what creates the best possible scenario isn't purely bliss and good stuff. It's like the messy stuff, like the intertangled stuff that takes place in a relationship that like, it's not purely positive. And even statistically, they show that relationships that just have all positive interactions tend not to last.
Right. And it's impossible for a real relationship.
And if anything, if it's all positive, both people aren't encouraging each other and occasionally putting their foot down and saying, actually, I think we should do things differently, and both growing together. Because in order to grow, you occasionally need to tell the other person, like, I don't agree with that. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I think we should do this. And you guys have a good conversation about it. But all in all, the way humanity is right now, sometimes the messy stuff is the good stuff. And if it's just purely,
I like that.
and if it's, and I feel like I've heard Lex Friedman say that before. Maybe I'm channeling the inner Lex Friedman.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's from like, what's that movie about Good Will Hunting or something? I don't know. Anyway, it's like doesn't really matter where it's from.
I think it is Good Will Hunting, where Robin Williams shares that to Matt Damon.
Yeah,
the messy stuff is the good.
Because he's
on the
about,
bench.
Yeah, because that reminded me of that where you're talking about like maybe there's a guy who just spends all his time on the computer. He knows everything. He knows everything, but it's like you don't know what it feels like to be in the hospital when you're losing your wife, and I don't know exactly word for word how it went, but you know what I mean. Like he's talking about like
because Matt Damon never wanted to commit to a real relationship. He didn't want to open up
Yeah.
like or be vulnerable, and that's why he kept, you know, dumping chicks or whatever. And then finally, Robin Williams shared all the messy and the beautiful aspects of his relationship with his wife, who he lost, but he still valued the love that he had. And that's what convinced Matt Damon to get on the plane and go after her, even though there was a possibility of pain and hurt and suffering. Like still went and did it, because that's, like you say, the messy stuff is the good stuff.
And I think experiences are going to be the thing that are the most valuable at the end of the day. Because what he was telling Matt Damon there is he's saying, like, you can analyze and intellectualize this and talk about why I'm sad about my wife, but you've never experienced what it's like to lose someone that you love more than yourself, because you don't love anything more than you love yourself.
Right.
And so that quote, or I don't even think I nailed it, but that quote hits pretty hard, where it's just like damn.
Yeah.
Because the guy in Good Will Hunting, he's a genius. He knows everything, and he knows why everything happens, and he can explain his way out of anything.
All from books, though.
All from books. He never actually experienced the thing. And even if you want to try to intellectualize that and be like, well, why is it better to have the experience? Who knows? But like, the experiences just hit harder and differently than any reading or learning about the thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what like young people or anybody would be a good recommendation for them to do, is experience life. Go do things. Go, like, put your heart on the line. Get in relationships. Do things where you have deep, meaningful, conscious experiences.
Go fail. Don't be afraid to fail.
And don't spend your time just studying little details. And it's hard to give like general life advice, but like, you know what I mean? I just, in the light of AI coming in, there's going to be certain things that are more probably worthwhile than other things. And I feel like going out into the world and trying to experience as much as you possibly can would be a good life advice. If anything, like,
live your life, like, just, regardless of all the AI stuff coming out.
Yeah, live your life.
Live your life.
And worry less about little things. Like,
it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
It hopefully won't turn into a Terminator situation.
Yeah. Go out, wear what you want, do what you want.
That's another thing, though, too. I feel like it's so much easier to visualize the negative potential of AI, for myself at least, because of movies like Terminator, or Ex Machina. So there's literally movies. So when I think of AI, you have visual representations of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But there's no movies about, you know, the best possible outcome of, like, a person with like AI skipping into the rainbow, you know, like a happy movie with a happy ending.
Of AI cures cancer and gives everyone in poverty all the food they
bliss
need.
Pills. They're shoving bliss pills down people's throats. Yeah. Or like you know. So I find and also humans, like, we're much more inclined to think about the negative as opposed to the positive. Yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of doomsday sort of talk, and it's sort of popular about the AI. Right. And it's important to, you know, be aware of the potential negative aspects or outcomes.
Yeah, and be as open-minded as you possibly can. Because like you say, humans think more about the negative, but that's a lot of because we were driven through evolution to optimize for survival and replication. And for survival, it's better to be more concerned about the negative than the positive. Right. But you could build a AI intelligence that doesn't have all of these things that now maybe no longer have a purpose. Like we might have a lot of anxiety because that was built in our system through evolution, but it doesn't help us anymore. And so maybe now you have an intelligence that it doesn't have these bugs in a sense, and it just
our human bugs.
Yeah. It's
better than us.
Yeah, and it goes off and creates the most insane spaceships and travels at the speed of light. And like at the end of the day, over on a long enough time span, AI will only be limited by the laws of physics. Do we know all the laws of physics at this point?
No, but I don't think we ever will.
AI might know it.
But, yeah, maybe. Bart like 10.0, maybe version 20. Yeah. He'll figure it out, but
so we'll see. Yeah, I think it's a great conversation to people have, and we're trusting in the guys that are at the spearheading the project.
Are we trusting in these people?
Well, we have to. And there's a lot of great minds that seem to be good ethical people.
Trust them or don't trust them. We kind of our future is in their hands. So we want them to do the best.
Trust
we
them
want them to do well.
Trust them or don't trust them. Yeah, we want them to do well, and trust them or don't trust them. They're working 24 hours, like all day and night.
Yeah,
doing it anyway. So you hope that they put in some good work. So the people that are leading it, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and all of their team, and whoever's behind it all,
Mark Zuckerberg,
all these tech CEOs, and Google CEO, like whatever. Like we within you, we're counting on you. So
for real, yeah,
lead us to the utopia.
Yeah, lead us to utopia, not dystopia.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think that's it, bro.
Yeah, awesome conversation, man.
You, bro.
Thank you for having me on again. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Good to have you. And we might have to do an AI update in a year when things are just insane.
That would be awesome to see, like which, what we got right, what we didn't down the road.
Yeah.
Like how far off we were.
So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up. Thank you everybody for listening, and thanks for coming on again, Zach.
Thanks, bro.